Hey guys, welcome to another Spaces with me, Kaluaja, Money Spaces. Welcome wherever you are. This week we have, rather simple subject, rather simple, issue. Of course, every week we're here talking about money, the economy, and of course, finance. And we are always trying to make it personal to you. How can these economic topics that you hear about, how do they affect your personal wallet? That's what we do here every weekend. Today's a Sunday, and we're talking the devalue or defend question. Let me lay out the facts, or should we say the background for you, how this plays out. Every economy, right, or every country has got a currency, and your currency is your means of exchange. The way it's set up in the world right now, you have the US dollar, which we call the reserve currency or the currency of settlement. So you have the US currency. That's how you trade, say, from Nigeria to, say, the UK or to Germany. You don't exchange Naira for Deutschmarks or for the euro. Rather, you will take your Naira, your local currency, you exchange for United States dollars, which is the reserve currency and the currency for settlements. Then you then buy German goods. The same thing if Germany wants to buy crude oil from Saudi Arabia, they don't use German marks or euros. They would get the US dollar and then use the US dollar to exchange with Saudi Arabia for crude oil. So as you see, the dollar is what we call the exchange or the reserve currency for international settlements in the world, the US dollar. So the question now is, when you have the Naira, if you want to import or export, you're going to settle those trades in Naira, which means, in United States dollars, which means you will sell crude oil in dollars and you will also get your payments in dollars, right? You are not going to spend dollars in Nigeria. Rather, you spend the Naira in Nigeria. The more you export, the more you build up the volume of dollars that you have in your reserves. The more you import, the more you reduce the amount of dollars in your reserves. When you export, of course, you then get the dollars, so you get wealthy. When you import, you use the dollar, so you lose your wealth. Now, the exchange rates of the Naira to the dollar, if you then know the math, what we're talking about, means that if you have what we call a weak Naira would mean that, say, $1 would exchange for, say, 700 United. So 700 Naira would buy you $1. That's a weak Naira, right? What it means is if I export cocoa and I earn $10, I earn 7,000 Naira. But if I have a strong Naira, what it means is that the dollar, $1 would be, say 400 or say 300. So if I export the same value of cocoa, instead of earning 7,000 Naira, I earn, say, 3,000 Naira. So what you can see is that the weak Naira helps the nation that exports because their exports are cheaper. What do I mean? If I'm a US or I'm an importer and I want to buy cocoa, there's cocoa in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Ivory Coast, the same cocoa, right? I will spend less dollars to buy the same quantity of cocoa in Nigeria that I used to spend the same quantity of dollars to buy the same quantity of cocoa in, say, Ivory Coast or Ghana. Because the local currency in Nigeria, I can buy more of that local currency in Nigeria with my same US dollars. So if I have $100 and I swap it out to Naira, I get more Naira. Vis-a-vis if I swap it out to, say, cedis or the CFA, which is used in the Ivory Coast. So you see what's going on. Internationally, when you buy and sell, you are buying and selling in relation to the dollar. So the Naira can get more for the US, then they will come to Nigeria and buy more cocoa. So exports go up in Nigeria. But if you make the Naira strong, which means for $1, I get just the 300, then the US importer will be like, I can only get 3,000 Naira per $10. I might as well go and buy cocoa from Ivory Coast, which I can get more CFA, thus I can get more cocoa. So you see how currency value drives trade. If your currency is weaker, then the products made in your country that you are going to sell in your country are cheaper. Not because they are cheaper, but because when you exchange it in the dollar, vis-a-vis the dollar, they are cheaper. So that's the point of how trade is driven by the exchange value of currencies. That's why if you try to devalue your currency artificially, the US would call you a trade manipulator because you're trying to make your goods, not the currency, not the goods, cheaper to get an unfair advantage in the world of trade. So back to the question, does Nigeria need a strong Naira, which means Nigeria wants to defend the Naira? Or does Nigeria want a weak Naira, which means Nigeria wants to devalue the Naira? What's the advantage of a weak Naira? I told you. A weak Naira means if you are exporting, you get more buyers for your goods. So what does Nigeria export? Nigeria exports crude oil and Nigerians, which is remittances. So remittances are exports, and we export Nigerians to get us remittances. So do we want a weak Naira? Meaning that we get more Naira from exports of oil and exports of Nigerians? Or do we want a strong Naira, which means we can import cheaper? So we can import fertilizer, we can import machinery cheaper, but our exports suffer. Economics does not give you answers. Economics give you choice.
Your Naira, you have the ability to import more. But like Nigeria is in a case where we have a weak currency and we don't export anything.
But we export, right? So we export, Ebuka. We export.
Like we're not even taking advantage of the weak Naira that we have, right? Because we have no production. So that's still something that you still want the government to fix. And then the Naira would naturally appreciate because right now it's too weak. It's weaker than what it should be, right? So it still needs a sense of appreciation, but not to become like when we first found oil and we became too overvalued because of our products. We're not there yet. So, but we need to still sort of trend a bit upwards.
My opinion regarding
Ebuka, can you hear me, Ebuka? Amir, just hold on. I'll get you to speak soon.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Ebuka, but I made the point that Nigeria actually does a lot of exports. Nigeria exports a lot of Nigerians. For the Japa, we have a lot of Nigerians abroad. We also export crude oil. So Japa alone is bringing to Nigeria $25 billion. This is just officially. Unofficially, it could be maybe 50 billion. So the argument is this: if you make the Naira strong, what you are saying is that $50 billion becomes, say, maybe 100 billion Naira. To put it in context, that's less than what the NAS spends in a month. But if you make it weak, that 50 billion becomes like 500 trillion. So does that change your take?
I mean, if it's weak, it's just increasing inflation, right? Is it not what government does with all this pumping in of money all the time, right? It just increases the inflation in the economy because you're ultimately still not doing anything with the money. You're not producing. So whether it's strong or whether it's weak, if you're not exporting, for me, and people might have other opinions, I don't see anything changing.
Okay.
Because you're weak because you're not doing anything. You're just spending and just wasting money. That's my own take.
So in effect, we can't devalue our way to wealth. That's what Mr. Ebuka is saying. We cannot.
Exactly. We can't just keep pumping money. Everybody, you're just spending.
Gotcha.
Not selling. You should be making and
spending,
selling
not
things,
selling,
and you will see it slightly appreciate. Like it might not go to like $100 for Naira or something, but like we are too low. Like 700 is not the value of the Naira, right? Because the market would definitely can.
What do you think the value should be? What do you think? You just your ballpark. What do you think?
To take a ballpark, I mean, it's all speculation, right?
Yeah.
But I'll still say the 400 or
the 400.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I hear you. I hear you, Buka. Let me get.
I'm not the central bank.
Yeah, just your opinion. Well, of course. Let's get Olumide in here. Olumide, what's your take? Ebuka says we can't devalue our way to success. He wants a stronger Naira because, hey, we're not producing per se. So even if we're jackbuying all that 25 billion, we're not really producing. What's your take, Olumide?
Yeah, good evening, Carlo. Interesting conversation. And you highlighted key parameters, so I won't want to beat around the bush. I think we need a far weaker currency.
Far weaker.
If you look at the official value, it's heavily subsidized, and that's why we see a lot of arbitrary differentials. And also, if you look at the fact that foreign reserves can barely meet 6-month payment, and we have substantial amounts in dollar debt exposure, it means the country is suffering from liquidity crunch. And our major FX spending comes from crude oil, just like you rightly mentioned. But during the era of President Buhari, crude oil dropped from 2.2 to below 1 million barrels a day, and that somehow made the apex banking capable, coupled with the fact that petrol subsidy also created a black hole. So definitely we need to devalue for many reasons. First, we need to remove that arbitrage. Foreign subsidy on education, foreign subsidy on medical tourism has to fly out. We also need to make the market efficient. If you look at capital market, for example, data 2022 said that out of the 360 trillion that came to the country, 1 trillion went to the capital market. And that was because investors did not see any incentives to invest, because a lot of people that have their funds in the market cannot even remove their funds, so they have to reinvest. So there's no incentive. So we have to make our capital market efficient. I understand that a lot of people say that means it makes the country poorer because the value. But the reality is that the US dollar against many currencies, even the British pound, euro, has strengthened. If you look at it in the past 2 years, and that's why we said that we have to look at market-driven. I'm not really concerned about weaker or stronger. All I'm concerned about is minimizing the leakage and the porosity around our public finances. Just like you rightly said, if you look at export and things like that, we need to diversify our economy. The remittance that is coming in, if you look at how much Nigerians spend in UK, US on education, now doing statistics about US gains nothing less than $10 billion per quarter. I'm going to release that report. I saw it on Bloomberg data on foreign education. The United Kingdom makes millions of pounds from Nigerians, and you can see they are trying to do the use and dump strategy, where they will kind of block foreign independence of partners from reaching the UK. Because the thing is that every country right now is making things on their self-interest. So Nigeria also has to block those leakages. We are bringing money in, but at the same time, we are bringing so much out. And at even our subsidized rate, we also need to increase our productivity. And until we have an efficient FX market, I think it will be, so we definitely need a weaker currency. And if you ask me the level, I think it's going to be between, based on what Abisa and Barclays analyst said, I think it's going to be between 645 and 800 Naira market driven.
Olympia made a lot of good points there. Like, I mean, a lot there. No, you touched on the UK, and I don't think people really understand what you were saying. UK has said that you cannot bring your family to the UK, but you can come and work and pay taxes. So they want to basically get that productivity from you, the individual, but then not extend that social payment to your family. Good point you made there. I didn't think of it that way. Also, again, you also made the point that, in Nigeria, because our currency or the economy, it doesn't have the productivity, money is coming in, but it's just going to the stock market, right? It's not really being invested in the real sector of the economy. I have the farmer wanting to speak. I want to make him talk later to talk about where this fund should go to. You also made that point very, very good and clear. And you're looking like you want a weaker currency because you feel that would enable the Nigeria to cushion the blows, as it were, of the economy that is not performing. I mean, I hear you. Again, it's not a right or wrong answer. Like I said, economics gives you options. doesn't give you an answer. But Lumde, thanks for that. Please hang in for us. We're going to need your insight as we go along. The farmer boy. I mean, you are a guy on the field. You are a farmer. Your hands are quote unquote in the soil. You are in the sector that has the largest contributor to the economy by employment and also by share of GDP. What's your take on this? I see you have lots of farm equipment from the US. You have John Deere tractors. Do you want a stronger Naira or do you want to weaken Naira? How would it affect your business?
Yeah, thanks, Carlo. First and foremost, let me just say this. I'm not an economist, nor a financial expert. I may not be able to speak in most of these terms, but just in a layman way of what I felt about the Naira. For me, I'm not really bothered about weak or stronger Naira to say. But this is just me. I think our population alone should be something of pride, something we can easily walk around with in terms of productivity. There are some things you don't need to manage. I usually say it, a normal business person cannot come to Nigeria and function properly because everything about our economy seems to be padded. Nothing is moving straight. You understand? In a situation whereby the people who don't have access to the government are getting the dollar at one rate, the other who has the money are getting at higher rates. There was a time we were having an argument and somebody was talking about paddy rice. And he was mentioning Dangote, he was mentioning Buagos. I said, see, guy, sum up the total hectares this guy have together. They don't even have up to 100,000 hectares of land. So it means what they are doing is very, very minute. Government need to focus on the small scale farmer. And when I'm talking about the small scale farmer, you see, when people bring statistics up, they say, oh, Nigeria is the largest producer on this, largest producer. I said, at what rate? We are just largest when it comes to the numbers of hectares we are cultivating. But when it comes to value, we are nothing. You understand? The average yield of, let's say, maize in Nigeria is around 1.5, 1 ton per hectare. Whereas people are making close to like 10 tons, 12 tons, 15 tons in another country. What I'm saying in essence is that by the time we focus, as I've said, I'm not an economist. Let's say, for instance, I, as a farmer, I'm of the opinion that, see, small-scale farmers need to be aggregated in one location. Probably you have 1 hectare, you have 2 hectares, and you sum up it up to 100 hectares. Government provides long-term loan facility to a mechanization outfit that can go to these people, help them do their operation. You are providing true service. You are making their work very easy for them. You are increasing their productivity. Then the yield will also increase. By the time we have a lot of things in abundance, you have a lot to talk about the export. But we are just, when government want to put their interventions to people, for me, I always say it. The Nigerian government creates intervention by saying they want to solve one problem and create about 2-3 problems.
Gotcha.
You understand? So for me, either weak Naira, strong, nobody should even be defending Naira. Leave this thing, let your economy defend whatever is going to defend. It's your production that will determine how your Naira, or do you understand what I'm saying? How
Completely.
your money will look like. But we consume everything. Yeah. Take, for instance, cassava. Nigeria is one of the largest cassava producers in the whole world. But do we even make any impact when it comes to the global market of cassava? No, because it is either we consume everything and waste the rest. Some probably through your handle, I saw somebody was packaging abacha in a carton. I was like, wow, look at a beautiful idea. These are the kind of things, that kind of person producing abacha and packaging it. 2 things. Government need to look at that kind of person, invest more on that kind of person, provide what you need to provide for that kind of person. Because one, it will help us, all the waste we have in cassava, somebody is there to mop it up. Rather than just throwing up money. If you look at even the CBN, what is it called? Statistics about the money they give to farmers. It's sometimes I laugh.
Yeah, it's gone. It's really nothing. Yeah.
Just take for instance, you said you gave somebody 100 so amount of money to go and cultivate 10,000 hectares of rice. Then the question I ask is, with what? In the whole of the country, I can say it anywhere. Nigeria, we do not have a single mechanization company that can handle mechanization successfully. Just 2,000 hectares. Then how come you are giving one? It means you just give this money, just take this money, steal whatever you can steal, and waste the rest.
Interesting.
You understand? So they need to re-strategize. Look at where they put in all this intervention, so that if at all want to have stronger Naira, for me, I don't even care anybody defending the Naira. Just make the economy work, the system work, so that it defends itself. From my layman, I believe that whatever we are exporting out, we determine the kind of currency, how strong or weak our Naira is. For me, that is what I believe.
The farmer, you've spoken like an economist. You've already answered the question. When we export, that determines the economic value. You've done that. So I think that is really a good answer to the question, right? You've made a point about productivity, and I agree with you. When you export, the water will find its level. That's what so I think you made an economic post there. Thank you. Hang on with us. Let me get the Kenny _Berthy. Did I get that right? The Jelly Magan. You've got the floor, sir. Hey.
Hello.
Your audio is kind of low. Go ahead. Okay, first, let me...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Go.
Okay. Thank you. So me, I'm a student, and lately I've been making profit over forex trading. You see. So I've been following the market of the foreign currency like euro and dollars. So what I can see is that listening to what you say, like if they lower the currency or get it higher, what it can change. Me, I can just advise that you keep your currency lower actually to get linked, to get strong link with partners, because the USA stop using oil as energy, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have to be fixed to the Nigeria economy based on over exchange, over trade. So you got to keep lower your currency so that and get plenty of partners a part of oil. So when USA stop using oil, you got partners, and then you get high your currency, and then you see some profit about other so I want you to get strong links with partners for now, and for me it's by keeping your currency lower, and then after when oil production does not make a lot of profit, you get your currency higher, so
I got
exchange over other things can bring you more profit.
I'm not sure if I understand. When you say keep currency lower, I suspect you are saying keep the currency strong. Is that lower, or is that currency weak? I'm not. I just want to be clear.
Like weak. I'm sorry.
Weak.
I want to say weak. It's,
okay.
You know, I'm
okay. Oh no.
I speak French.
Senator, no.
So I want you
problem.
To keep it weak. So
weak. Okay. So you want to
keep it weak for now, and then you keep it strong.
Okay, so keep it strong. Keep it weak for now, and then when we can then use a commodity like oil to make the currency become stronger when the market, when the US or the EU guys leave the floor and there's more demand for oil, we export more oil, and then of course Naira will rise. That's what you're saying, right?
Like for now, they're still using oil, but they talk about EV station for the car. Like they're gonna use electric car, so the station gonna be EV stuff like that. So it won't have no oil markets no more. Like as I see, it's about 2025 or 2030. So for now, you sell the oil and you keep your currency weak, selling oil. And when there's no oil markets, but you got partners about buying cassava, buying plantain, buying other stuff as Ivory Coast, as Ghana, but you see your partnership bring you still, like they still
Gotcha.
You money like.
DJ, I hear you. I hear you well. So even though you're communicating, trust me, you're communicating. I hear you. Thanks for that. I do get your point. And linking it to crude oil and commodities. Good point. Forex trader, you brave man. You're a very brave guy, right? Okay. We've got Bright Ibitoye. Bright, jump in there. Did he want us to trade with currencies that would affect the value of the Naira? The more we export crude oil in a market that is shrinking, he believed that would make the currency, the Naira, stronger. What's your take? Do we need a strong Naira? Do we need a weak Naira? Should we devalue or defend? What's your take?
Devalue it the more.
Devalue the more.
I just checked now. Korean economy is number 10 in the world. But guess what? $1 is 1,320 something yuan. $1 is 1,300 something yuan. But guess what? They are number 10 in the world. So that tells me, from my little experience, that look, forget about this. Naira must be 1 to 1 dollars. At the end of the day, when you make your country, because everybody knows that Nigeria is a large country, Nigeria is a large market. I've heard this in several economies. They wanted to come to Nigeria. But you see, like we see the way China does things. China make labor cheaper. They make those labor. India has copied that same style. Not, what's the name? Taiwan has copied that same style. Bangladesh has copied that same style. So what stops Nigeria from making our own country becoming the hub? Because if you put $1 to 1,000 naira, what it means is that those things that are very important to Nigeria, those things that are very marketable for Nigeria, they will have no choice to come to Nigeria. And let me tell you, this new bill that was signed that allows the states to generate electricity on their own, it's a big breakthrough. Because what it means is that investors will want to come and invest more into that sector. That's one, meaning the electricity aspect. And secondly, we need to work on our process. Mr. Kalu, you know what I'm saying. If you're going to get a license for you to mine in Nigeria, and you're going to get the same license to mine in Ghana, or South Africa, or Botswana, you know that those people will have given you license in not less than, perhaps in 2-3 months. But guess what? In Nigeria, it will take you more than a year or two for you to get this license, right? So if you see this thing this way, if you reduce those threats for you to get license, for you to get registered. For instance, even if you want to do online microfinance bank, for you to get the license from CBS, it's not something that can be done in 1 month. These are processes you need to let free, and then put the money more in the small micro businesses. See, people are saying Nigeria is not produced. Nigeria is producing. The tiles we're using in Nigeria, the paint, the plumbing materials that we're using, they are all being made in Nigeria because nobody wants to import those things again from China. I have seen Chinese companies who have moved their tile companies from their country to Nigeria. I have seen companies who do paint in other countries, they've moved their factory to Nigeria. So what we need to do is to ride on those things. If our currency is devalued the more, they have no choice because their market is here. And they put more money. For instance, the things that all these companies need to manufacture, perhaps give them zero duty for them to bring them in. Which means that for them to buy those materials, the ones we don't have in Nigeria, to produce in Nigeria, they get those things at zero import, right? If they get it at zero import, it means they're going to have an effect on the production. And honestly, our packaging industry needs to step up. We need to start put when I say our packaging industry, for instance, our commodity like grain, our beans, our corn, for it to be exported, we need to start introducing European standards so that when you ship these things from Nigeria to those countries, they won't be turned back.
I got you.
We need to put insurances in place that can manage it when people do these things, they will not lose their money.
Yeah, first light, you can't say You have a lot of great ideas there. I think the main point that you said, and which you highlight again, is that you mentioned the South Korean exchange rate, and you put that South Korean exchange rate together with the value of with the export and the size of the economy, making the point that it's not the exchange number itself that is important. It's the earnings, the productivity, the GDP per capita. Even with the South Korean currency being very weak, the average South Korean is way richer than Nigerian. So currency exchange is a strategy for the economy. You simply can't say want a weak or strong Naira. It has got to be part of a strategy. That's a key point you made that I want to highlight.
Yes. And then you see we need to open our sectors. Like the real estate in Nigeria, sector in Nigeria, we are still playing. It's still in crash.
I hear you.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's still in crash.
Yeah.
I said this to any form of thing. The day Nigerian government decided to open up the real estate sector and the transportation sector. I'll give you an example. Imagine Nigerian government said we want a 3 million those electrical buses in Nigeria and ask those companies that manufacture those or give Innocent, give Innocent and what Nord and the Coforth guys, give these guys just do a $2 billion kind of backup for them to produce 3 million buses, both small, big, and medium. That means that you're going to open up the transportation sector so well that those guys will be able to use that money to open
all right.
up the
Okay, I got you. First, I got you. Let me get Wumi in here to hear what Wumi Omoluabi stake is on. No matter how you doing.
Hi, Kalu. Thank you. I just wanted to ask Mr. First Light some couple questions regarding on what he just said right now. So, in my own understanding, if you want to compare Nigeria and South Korea in terms of the currency, I think first we should first of all understand the people. At the same time, I just want to touch on something. At the same time, I want to ask a question. You should first of all understand who the people are. In South Korea, I think most of them are, most of them are into business. But we Nigerians, the main reason why most people are jackpotting or leaving the country is not necessarily because they have better opportunity. It's because of the currency. It's because of the $1 is $7.50. An average Nigerian jackpot, and because $1 is $7.50, whatever I'm making in a month, is whatever a banker. I prefer to go to US to work as a cleaner because at the end of the day, I'm going to earn like $2,000, something like, that is my 1 year salary in Nigeria. So how can we balance that thought of we Nigerians, we chose to devalue our currency, but that thought as we Nigerians, that I'd rather jackpot to US and be a cleaner because I earn $2,000 every month, and $2,000 every month in Nigeria, it's a lot of money because we have a weaker currency, and that is the reason why we have mass jackpot relocation. So how can devalue Naira, the weaker currency, help us in that aspect? Considering currency rates and the kind of people, like I said, it's about the mindset of the people. If 1 Naira is equal to $1, people would rather go to US and work as a cleaner than be a banker in Nigeria.
I hear you, but look at it this way with me. Let me see if I can step in, right? If you make your currency strong, i.e., you want to make it say 1 Naira to $1, right? You are right that Nigerians become artificially rich. That's what happened in 1960s, 1970s. You heard Nigerians say good old days, where one geisha was 10 kobo, where one tin milk was 10 kobo. Those were the good old days, but we were only getting those prices because we were taking all our earnings from crude oil to import all those things. If you make 1 Naira, $1, then you are killing local SMEs. Why would I buy rice from Abakaliki when it's the same price as Uncle Ben's rice? Why would I buy Innocent car when I can buy Rolls Royce? Innocent car is $10,000. Well, I can buy Cadillac for $10,000. Why would I buy Innocent? So the currency, if you make Nigerian currency strong, I would import. Why South Korea can make their one, that's their currency, 1,000, is because Samsung, Hyundai, are also South Korea, but they're the same quality as Ford. You can buy Hyundai in South Korea, it's the same quality or better than Ford or GM. So they don't have to import from the US. When you make your currency strong, you are subsidizing imports. So Nigerians say good old days in the 70s, we were importing everything. We had rice armada, cement armada in Lagos. They couldn't offload so many ships. But we then changed to SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, was to take us from this import and consume to produce locally and consume. That's what we're supposed to have done till today. If we had done that, if we had an innocent, all these guys you see, Hyundai, you see, they were all innocents 10 years, 20 years ago. Sony was making rice cooker. Sony, rice cooker. That's what they were making. And they've gone from rice cooker to what they are today. Taiwan, those chip companies are now the world beaters. They were government-owned companies, or should we say government-funded companies set up to just assemble chips. You can't do that if it is cheaper to import. Nobody will buy local products. Does that make sense, Wubi?
Yes, that makes sense. But at the same time, I'm trying to balance that. It's the reality of average Nigerian, the reality of average Black. Korea, we cannot really, but just because it worked for those in Korea or Koreans doesn't mean it's going to work for a Black or a Nigerian. Like I mentioned, the reality is average Nigerian would rather, even as cheap as chili pepper, I've seen a blogger have a set of great value products from Walmart. I mean, great value product is so inferior. I can't even go to Walmart and get great value because it's very, very inferior. And someone in Nigeria decided to have, over 50 products of great value, like chili pepper, ginger powder. Like these are the things you can found in Nigeria. So our mentality, we Nigerian, we cannot compare. We being Black, our mentality of being. I'm not trying to insult our skin, but you understand that our mentality of being Black compared to those people in can work for those in Korea, but might not work for those in Nigeria. And like I mentioned, if we decide to make our currency weaker, Nigerians that I know, they are not going to think about, okay, I can make opportunity, but they're going to be thinking, I'd rather be in US working as a cleaner, because at the end of the day, I'm going to get $2,000. If $1 is equal to $1 is equal to 1,000 Naira in Nigeria. I think that is the average mindset of Blacks.
Okay, Wumi, let's go back in history. 1960 to 1965, Nigerians were richer than the South Koreans, the Chinese, the Taiwanese, the Singapore, the Indians. Nigerians, the Black Nigerians, were richer than all these people.
Right.
When you say, hold on, Wumi. Wumi, so when you say the Black, you're not trying to be busy, but the fact is that when Nigeria was working, we were richer than all of them. All of them. South Korea were richer than them. And we have no excuse. They had military rule, we have military rule. They had coups, we had coups. The same thing they had there, we had here. But we were richer than them. Nigerians were richer than the Chinese as at 1972, 3, 4. The Chinese came here to look at overhead bridges to build in China. Fact. But look at today. So it's not up to early 80s. It's not a question of Black. It's leadership, structure. We lost our way. They continue spending on education. We're building Festac, So it's a lot that they've done well, we haven't done well. I get the point you are making. It had to do with Black. It's the people, yes. It's the leadership, the path we have chosen. They spent. Look at Hyundai. Let me give you a story about Hyundai. When the Korean then military president Park, he called the guys from Hyundai. There was a family. This was their version of, say, Dangote. He called them and said, listen, all of you, as long as you guys bring your money back to Korea, I won't prosecute you. So if you've stolen money in the past, I don't care. But if you bring money back to Korea and set up a company in Korea, I won't prosecute you. That's how these Chernobyls all started. They grouped together and then he allowed them. He called the founder of Hyundai and told the guy, he said, go and start making ships. Hyundai had never made ships in their life. I don't know, it's a long story, but they went and they made ships. They went to Scotland, brought expertise, and started to make 1 or 2 ships. Today, South Korea is one of the, if not one or two, of the largest shipbuilders in the entire world. The same Nigeria could have done. This is the same country where we refine crude oil. We built articulated vehicles during the quote-unquote civil war. Why didn't we continue with that industry? If we had continued to make arms from 1967 till today, we would have been like Russia, exporting arms, or even Korea, or even Canada, or even Turkey, exporting arms as a business. But Nigeria has. When did we stop ships and planes flying at night in Nigeria? Because of the Civil War. So I hear you, Wumi. You're beautiful and all that. But I think the point is that the structure of the country is the big problem, not these individuals, but the structure, linking sensors to positions of power, to FARC, to Land Use Act. The structure is the problem in Nigeria. Not only the people. The people are wonderful. If you look at Nigeria alone, they will make Nigeria the largest and best earning country in the whole world. It's the structure, the leadership that has been put there that's putting us back. Daniel, you've got the floor. What's up to you? Daniel Wills, what's on your mind?
Yeah, good day, Mr. Kalu. How are you doing?
I'm very well, sir. Very well. You've got the floor. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay, I think I will start with, I don't know how we got to a place where we think the strength of our Naira reflects the strength of our economy.
It's a myth, right?
Yes, I think that's where it started from. So because of that, our Naira now started having a political value. So the government wants to defend, the government wants to make it strong, because that will send a message to the citizens that they are doing well. So they want to do everything to keep it strong, artificially strong, right? Now, but the truth is this, a currency will always find its level, because it usually depends on your balance of trade, right? And when you keep it artificially strong, it becomes overvalued. When it is overvalued, you now have a deeper and a wider black market.
True.
Now, the black market now determines what happens in your economy.
True.
So your black market shakes, I go to the market, there's inflation. Now, what that now does, again, is that you have now created rent. You have created food for some people for round tripping, because the gap between the official and the black market rate is so wide that if I can get at CBN rate, I might not even use it to import. I just round trip and I make 80 to 75% spread. So you have created food for some people. Now, those that know that your money, your currency is overvalued, you are going to discourage FDI because they cannot bring money in. Those that are also making, even exporting, right, they rather divert their export proceeds, because why should I exchange that 400 and something when I know that I can get it at 700 and something from the black market? So you have also limited supply. And another thing, because of what is happening in the black market, you have also created speculators out of an average Nigerian. Everybody has domiciliary account. Everybody wants to keep their money in dollar because it's a better store of value, right? So you further drive up the demand for dollars, thereby deepening the black markets.
Wow.
So when you look at all this, you're just creating a quagmire. You're just creating a labyrinth for yourself. So what should we do? Let us leave it. Let the market determine the value. Maybe it will just go up, a bit. But you are going to increase supply, because when people know the true value, people can bring in their money and set up factories here. People that are exporting will bring in their export proceeds. You increase supply. Then with that, make your ports. Don't make your ports, primarily a revenue generating hub. Make it an export facilitating hub. So when you are looking at your ports, you are not measuring the performance of your port by, we made so and so. No, what has moved out? How easy is it for you to move things out? And by that, me and you, we will not even know what is happening with our exchange rate. We don't even know if Naira is weak or strong, because most of what I need to buy, most of what I need to run my life, what I need to maintain a good standard of living, I can get within the country. So, an economy where everybody is fixated on the exchange rate, there's something wrong. And that is because most of us now are speculators, whether I like it or not. Everybody in Nigeria have dumb accounts. And the dumb account is not because you are using it to trade. I'm using it as a store of value because I have lost confidence in Naira. So I think that also, I don't even think we need to depend. Let's leave it, let it float. This political value must end. Our exchange rate must not be for political signals. Yeah, thank you.
Daniel, Ben, you have broken this thing down like a lecturer. You took us, step by step, how A takes us to B, how B takes us to C. I completely like the point you made about the port not just being referenced as revenue earnings, but also as what is going out, right? Because I see Port of Los Angeles, they will tell you throughput. They will tell you containers came in, also the containers went out. It's this that Customs is always saying their record, we made 2 billion last year, we made 4 billion this year. If you take out inflation, they've made zero, they've made less. If you factor that to inflation, but that's a different matter entirely. It's a good point you're making. We are all speculators. We all have double accounts every day. Is dollar going up, dollar coming down? The question I get on my DM the most is, what should I do with my dollar? Is it going to go up? Is it going to come down? We don't know, because we don't know what the new government will do. And what the government will do determine if your dollar will go up or down. Nobody can tell you if dollar is going to go up or down. We can say with antecedents. We can look at some data and say, Bloomberg already has said that the president incoming, might devalue. It's a no-brainer. There's no money now. The foreign reserves we have cannot maintain the exchange rate of less than 500 Naira. It's a no-brainer. There is no way Nigeria with less than 40 billion can maintain an exchange rate of 500 Naira. CBN has tried it, and it has led to nearly 800 million in unremitted funds to the airlines. So the question for you is just, what is your foreign reserve, number one? Number two, how is the oil sales going? Right now, we are back to the issue where we have no oil sales. We had it in the past, a year ago. They seem to have stopped it. Now it's gone back. It's the last minute looting. Everybody's looting now before the new guys come in, maybe a bit more serious. That's what's going on. So if there's no oil sales and the foreign reserves do not go up, foreign reserves have not been going up even with oil sales, so different matter. But if there are no oil sales and foreign reserves are not going up, then there is no way in hell the Naira will not be devalued. You don't need to go to school to know that one. So I will tell you for free, if I come into office day one and I'm Minister of Finance or CBN governor, I look at my foreign reserves, it is flat or falling. I look at my oil sale from NNPC, it is flat or falling. I devalue. If I don't devalue, I commit the sin that Buhari committed. He tried to do capital controls to maintain the artificial value of the currency for 8 years. And what have we had? Naira now on the street is 700. That's what we've had. You cannot artificially, the laws of man cannot usurp the laws of economics. It won't happen. So Daniel, I mean, I wish you just, I don't know who you are, but I like the way you detailed this point out for us. We have to get away from this all becoming speculators. Nobody in America, I've never seen anybody in America say, I wonder what the exchange rate in euro is. They never bother unless they are traveling to Europe. So same thing with me. If I'm not exporting to Europe, what's my problem with the dollar exchange rate? How is it my problem if I'm not trading? But good call, sir. I like that a lot, sir. Good call. Mr. Juve, let's have Mr. Juve. Juve, you're already speaking. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Mr. Carlo.
What's up?
For me, we want to look at it from a different perspective, right? All the speakers have spoken well, but from my reading in the book, Prosperity Paradox, I want to retract from that. You talked about South Korea, We also looked at Japan. We could remember there was a time that Japanese products were the worst. But today, I want to look at it from the point of view of the mentality of the Nigerians. We see that a good percentage of people have, I think Wumi or someone said something about employment and stuff. We have a lot of people who have the mentality, the government mentality. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but we have more government employing more people than the private sector, which is wrong in itself. It's a situation that I would classify as a no-brainer. Most of these countries that are making waves or economically stable actually do have their private sector employ more people than the government. Now, most graduates you see are looking for jobs. That's the mentality we have, and it's a problem with our educational sector and a societal problem. We, in the 1960s that you mentioned, that we are richer than most of these other countries. We were production conscious than consumption conscious. Presently, we are more consumption conscious.
True.
Definitely, it will affect a lot of things, including import and export.
True.
But once we can, what I want us to look at is, okay, how can we affect, I'm diverting kind of, but I think it will still come back to this. If we have an economy or a people who are more entrepreneurs, right? I don't believe, I'm Igbo, but I don't believe that the entrepreneurial stuff only belongs to Igbos, because we remember the granite pyramid in the north and the cocoa farmers in the southwest, right? So everybody has the capacity to be an entrepreneur. Look at what Kano does on a yearly basis, how much production comes from there. Now, if we can have that mentality of entrepreneurs than seeking for jobs, even the Japa thing we drop. Because I could remember, I think I joined one of your talk shows in the past when you talked about the fact that unemployment, right? Or what word will I use? I'm trying to get the precise word you used, but I can't get it. But just paraphrasing what you said in that talk. If we can, the average northerner can do business. Every other person can do business, not just the Easterners. Everybody can do business. There's nobody that cannot do business. But the problem now is, the question now is, what mentality are we carrying? Everyone wants to leave school and get a job. If I leave school and we are looking at the job focus, then those people Japara and are leaving the country will not need to go, because why? There is a lot of problem. Let me get back to, sorry, my thoughts came back now. You talked about Nigeria having issues and this being the best place to run a business when there are problems. Where there are more problems is where you should run a business. We heard of the talk of the guy who talked about the sandals or the slippers, how they looked at it in different directions. One person is saying, okay, I came to a place where people do not wear shoes. I want to start a business of shoes. Another person comes there and sees that people don't wear shoes. There is no market for shoes here. So Nigeria has a lot of problems. And if we can have the mentality of entrepreneurs and not consumers or job seekers, I think it will go a long way to affect both our import and our export, and balance of trade will be affected positively. That's what I think.
I hear you, Joe. I hear you. I think you made some good points, right? Again, on the fact that everybody in Nigeria is a trader. I think naturally, I don't know if it's because Nigeria was colonized by entrepreneurs. You know, Nigeria is a unique country in West Africa. Nigeria was not colonized by the quote-unquote colonial government from Britain, but by a bunch of entrepreneurs. You know, Nigeria was an SPV. So I don't know, that's why we have this sort of mindset towards business. Everybody in Nigeria is a businessman, everybody. That's why in the 1960s, Nigeria was a rich nation per capita, not per GDP, per capita. Big difference, which means that the people of Nigeria were as rich as the country was as rich. There was freedom to get wealth. The government was not in the way. What we have right now is that you have the country of Nigeria is rich. the people of Nigeria are very poor. That's what we have, because the government has come in between the people and their ability to create wealth. You've talked about the pyramids in Kano. Good point. Why can't the people of Kano produce pyramids today? Why could they produce pyramids in those days? Everyone says because of oil. It's not because of oil. It's because the government took away the incentive for the pyramids of granules to be created. When Kano pyramids were existing, the state of that Kano, the northern Nigeria, retained the earnings from groundnut exports. Lagos State, the western region, took the revenues, almost 7% of the exports of the groundnut, but the export earnings went back to the northern region. So you could see that the northern region was very interested in making sure they had marketing boards, fertilizers, even a train from the north to Lagos to export the peanuts out, because the money came to them. The military boys came and put the federal government between the groundnut and the farmers. So now, when the groundnuts are made, the money does not go to a northern region. Rather, it goes to Abuja, which was then Lagos, right? So because the state governors have no more incentive to grow the yield of groundnuts, they stopped wasting their time on it. Why spend my time growing yield of groundnuts when I can wait for Abuja to give me money? That's why groundnuts fail. Not really oil, but because there is no incentive for the governors, for the local government chairman to get a share of that groundnut. Let me say it this way. Pass a bill and say, local government chairman, any agricultural produce that is exported from your local government, the state of Nigeria will give you 10% cut to your personal bank account anywhere in the world. So if I'm local government chairman of Ohafia or Arochukwu local government area, and Arochukwu exports crude oil, the government of Nigeria will pay me, the individual me, 10% to any account I open in any part of the world. What do you think I will spend my time doing in Arochukwu? I will spend my time using 5% of the money government will pay me to every farmer. What is your problem? You don't have fertilizer, I'll get fertilizer for you. You don't have hoe, I'll get for you. You don't have irrigation, I will spend 27 hours out of 24 working for every farmer in Arochukwu, because the more they export palm oil and cassava, the more my 10% flows to my account in the US. That's why Nigeria was making rubber, groundnut, tin, cocoa. That's why. The instant you tell local government chairman, we're not going to pay you 10% anymore. Rather, we'll pay you salary. That's what FAC is. FAC is salary. We'll pay you salary from Abuja. Why should I go to buy farmers in Abia and Arochukwu? I'll simply wait and collect salary. The farmers can go and go to court if they don't like it, because there's no incentive for me anymore. That's the structure we talk about in Nigeria that you have to remove. If you don't remove the government standing between the farmers and income, agriculture won't go anywhere. You won't go anywhere. Mr. Ike, you've got the floor, sir. What's happening? Malcolm X.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for giving me the mic. Well, I've been listening and it's been quite educative. Daniel did a wonderful job, so he said most of the things I would have loved to say.
Yeah, good job.
My really point is, I'm not an economic, but I'm a policy person. So there are prerequisites to policies. So a child can't just walk. Of course, he has to crawl and grow his bones and muscles before he could eventually walk. So I think the most important thing for us now is that we can't even get dollars in Nigeria. So we have to solve the availability problem. People should be able to bring in their capital and take it out. And then going further from that, we have to then organize the Nigerian society and then begin to have policy around effectiveness, cost saving, and organization of the Nigerian society. And then we need to have policy around education, adult education. I'll be doing some research on that. So, because we have a population where 50% cannot read and write, and then have an economy that is now going more towards e-commerce, if you cannot post items safely, if you cannot deliver items safely, the business are going to die. So until you solve these small problems, and then watch the economy, liberalize the FS market, solve all those small problems that we have in our government currently, organize the Nigerian Post Office, organize our schools, make sure people can read and write, do all these small policies that organize your economy generally. Then you can't start talking about whether you want to defend the Naira or not defend the Naira. I think that's the mistake the government has made. Currently, what does Nigeria do? Nigeria do majorly two things. We export oil and we export talent. Those are our two biggest sources of FX. So how does devaluing or not devaluing affect those two things? It doesn't really affect it. It doesn't. So we're not a country that produces anything. We're not known for producing anything.
But people say this, we don't produce anything. We produce Nigerians. The Philippines produce a lot of Philippines all over the world. Yeah, and they
export talent, export talent, and we export oil. Those are our two major things.
Those are major exports. Talent.
Those are major exports. Yeah. Yes, those are major exports. So we're on the same page with that.
Okay.
So if we devalue Naira or we don't devalue Naira, I don't see how that's going to impact that much.
No, but it's the biggest impact. Let me use an example. Emeka is in America. He wants to send money to his mother, Mama Emeka, in Ohafia. If dollar is 1-to-1, Emeka has to get $100 to send to Mama Emeka. He has to get $100. But if dollar is $1 to 50, then he just needs less than $100. He can send her $10, which he has. When you make the Naira weaker, Emeka sends more dollars home. That's why when the Naira devalues, more remittances flow. If the Naira is stronger, there's less remittances. Direct.
Okalu, that argument has to go with, do we really know if our dollar, our Naira currently is overvalued or undervalued? We don't know.
No, but we know because when you want to buy your GSM phone, you want to pay for Google, you want to pay for all these things that are priced in dollars, you pay more than if you paid last year. If you want to buy a Samsung phone today, do you pay less or more? The price of the phone, the price of an Apple phone does not go up. It's almost the same in dollars. In dollars.
That's likely because of the ways and means now. If you keep printing more Naira, then our currency will lose value.
No, don't. I get ways, but don't confuse everything. Ways and means is the government borrowing. That's different matter from the exchange rate. What we're saying is this, right? If the central bank sets exchange rate, not the federal government, if the Central Bank of Nigeria says we want to make 1 Naira today 700, today it is officially NAFEX, let's say it's 500 officially. If it's at 500, Emeka in Houston might want to build a house in his village, so he needs $500 to get 500,000. Abi, if you make it 1,000. Emeka will send more dollars because he gets more Naira in Nigeria to build his house in Ohafia. That's the whole idea.
I get that. That makes a lot of sense. But what I'm saying again is this. At this point in time in Nigeria, we don't even have this. The FX market is not liberalized. We have so much issue getting the FX. So we need to solve that problem. And then look at how the market behaves to then know if defending the Naira or not defending the Naira makes sense for the economy going forward. So we need to solve that major problem of saying there's a bottleneck of getting Naira and taking Naira out of Nigeria. If we're able to solve that problem, then we can then look at the data and then determine which way forward.
I hear you.
So we need to
I'm going to bring Olumide in very soon. I'm going to be very soon. But understand the point we're making, right? The problem in Nigeria is that you have an official artificial rate. An official artificial rate. The exchange rate of 500 Naira, it's artificial. That's why there's no dollar. There's dollar in Nigeria. The DOM account in Nigeria is nearly $20 billion. DOM account. But it's not in the CBN. There's dollar in Nigeria. But the dollar is not in the CBN. And the CBN will not get dollar because it is trying to buy dollar at 500. If the CBN today says, I will buy dollar at 700, dollar will be plenty everywhere. You see, the irony is this. If you make the Naira weaker, the Naira will get stronger. But if you make Naira stronger, the Naira will get weaker. That's what I'm saying is this. No, Ike, I want to. Ike, let me.
I think you are missing what I'm saying. No. What I'm saying is that the first step actually is for the CBN to remove the artificial rate, liberalize the market. That way people can actually access dollar easily.
Hence, you are saying devalue, right? So you are saying devalue. That's what you're saying, devalue.
Yeah, I'm saying devalue. Yeah, that's the first step.
All right.
Going forward now, you then have to design policies that will tackle our fundamental problem so that we now begin to study if it favors us to defend Naira in the future or to devalue Naira in the future. Or at the moment, the first thing that the government is that will come into place, I will expect the government to do before first week of end of June, is to actually to take out that artificial rate. Let's say, for instance, there's a company I work for, and they are the biggest importers of milk in Nigeria, powdered milk in Nigeria. And at some point, all their resources were trapped in Nigeria. They couldn't get dollar to import milk. They started going through their sister entity in South Africa, going through Ghana, because if you remember, before COVID, Ghana rate was very, very good. At some point, they had to start selling gold. So it's crazy with the exchange. So the exchange rate at the moment is doing a lot of damage. So you have to take that out.
I hear you.
Then build policies to be able begin to look at it in the future to know which way it favors you.
Okay. I hear you. Yeah. Olumide, you want to hop in? You.
Yeah, I wanted to add some nuggets. Interesting conversation again, but I also wanted to look at the fact that we also need to look at the implication of leaving the status quo as it is. Like if you look at Q1 results, for example, Air South Africa, their fiscal year that ended March, they lost $82 million in their exposure in Nigeria just because of our currency. A lot coming from Nigerian brews and things like that. So it tells you that our market is inefficient. It's not good for business at all. Secondly, we also need to look at what happened to Ghana too. That's why the fact that Ghana allowed their currency to be a bit market-driven, more market-driven. But we saw that fiscal indiscipline and they were over-leveraged. Nigeria seems to be a bit human because we are bigger and we have the diaspora that's really pumping money.
True.
But we also need to look at time is running out. The cost of borrowing is going up. Treasury bills is giving us, US Treasury bills is giving us more than 5%. So there's no incentive for the average foreign investor to invest in our market. And also with all these panoramas in our I want to ask you a question, Carlo, because based on things I'm hearing, and that's where my fear is coming from. It's very likely the CBN governor doesn't remain in office, but the appointments are
very likely. He's gone. He's gone.
So the problem I'm having is that the market needs something of integrity. It needs substance. But when you have a political appointee probably nominated for the CBN, it throws fires around the group because political appointments around that institution definitely will compromise and replace. So I want to ask that: how do you see what advice do you think the president? How do you see him tackling the first 6 months, knowing fully well that yes, we have to devalue, but other issues like marketing efficiency, removing from me, ensuring the banks, like using your Naira card in United Kingdom. There's a time we could use our Naira cards abroad, but because of the currency are heavily subsidized, there's a quota. It's just one big city and Standard Chartered that allows you to use $20, and I think Standard Chartered has removed it. So I want to ask, what do you think the implications are?
You see, the honest truth is this, right? The nation is broke. The only thing that is keeping Nigeria afloat today are the remittances coming from the Nigerians abroad, not even trade. The trade is wobbly. We've seen the oil revenues almost go back now to zero because of the insecurity. The exports, the VAT and all that, it's looking good, but the inflation is 22%. So whatever we are getting this year is 22% less, i.e. inflated away, right? So, and the cost of government have been going up. So in terms of the forex side, the country is broke. If you take away the remittances, then we are nil. If you are a president that comes in, the way you get remittances up is to attract them. So you devalue, you even allow crypto in a very, very, should we say regulated manner, you can say, okay, you can do remittances via crypto to the federal government or something like that. So that way, you, even if it's just by messaging, you are signaling that there's a new sheriff in town that is more open to market reforms. That would bring more confidence. The word I'm looking for is that word, confidence. You have to very quickly introduce confidence to the market that the guys that bring in portfolio investments can see that Nigeria is a place where you can put money in this for 3 months, make some money and take it out. You are right to point the fact that in America today, the safe investments are paying you 5% per annum on a certificate of deposit that is FDIC insured. When Nigeria issued the 8.5% bill for 30 years, that was a very, very high paying instrument. In America, then rates were from 0 to 2%. Now, America is paying 5%. So the premium is 3%. Why would I risk 3% and invest in Nigeria when I can do 5% in safe America? So because that risk window is closing, it's becoming more difficult for Nigeria to get money. So if you're the next president, you have got to appoint someone. You have to, I said it in the tweet, you have to look for someone that is both Okonjo-Iweala and Sade Adu combined together. A name that people will see Sade and Okonjo-Iweala. It doesn't have to be an economist. You don't have to have an economist as your CBN governor or your minister of finance. You need an internationally respected person that can come and say, Nigeria has done rubbish in the past, but going forward, I'm going to be independent and I'm going to work to fix this mess. Ghana collapsed in less than 6 months. Less than 6 months. As at April 2021, Ghana issued a bond. That bond was oversubscribed by 100%. They offered 3 billion, they got 6 billion. April 2021. By February 2022, their bonds were downgraded to junk. So the economy of a nation can collapse in 24 hours because we now have this international flow of funds. It can happen in Nigeria that Nigeria will wake up and people just say, we've had enough. We're no longer buying Nigerian bonds. We're no longer doing anything with Nigeria. The Naira will collapse. Or the reverse can happen. People will say, we like the policies of this new president. Hence, we're going to take a bet that Nigeria is going to be the next giant in the next 10 years and they will inflow money into Nigeria. You only get that done when you appoint a cabinet and a finance and a CBN governor. So you see, politics is over. We're done with politics, right? My advice to whoever is going to be incoming, my advice to you is this. Remove all those people in your government that would attract any political noise. All those clowns in your government now that are fighting with people on Twitter, posting to politics. Leave all of them in the desert of Namibia. Leave them there and appoint a national government of unity with technocrats and respected economists. There are people that when they see, if you appoint some people as your CBN governor, even the people that don't like you be like, this man wants to work. Let me tell you, let's go political. The region of the country where you're going to have the biggest problem today, and I'm talking to the incoming guy, right, is the southeast of Nigeria. The southeast of Nigeria do not hate anybody. They want to do business. The present president, Buhari, appointed a southeast person twice as VP, and did not vote for him. The southeast voted for a northerner, a westerner. Those guys are not interested in who is the president. They are interested in competence, and they do trade. They do remittances. When you bring out a government that signals that I am here for business, I am here for productivity, I am here to create wealth for Nigerians, they will reciprocate. You don't need to go and do, I will build you bridge, no. they will reciprocate and they will follow you. I'm saying this, oh, people are going to attack me. So focus on getting the confidence of Nigerians immediately. Then the international community will follow. Leave all those, and I'm calling them clowns behind. The ones that are going to cause all this, make all these comments about tribe, ethnicity, and religion. Leave them alone. You have a big war coming for you. They've devalued your currency. They've loaded you up with 31 trillion in debt. This is just ways and means. They have loaded you up in such a manner that you cannot even, you have no revenues. All your revenues have been eaten up by interest payment, not even salary, interest payment. You have no crude oil revenues. They're already stealing the oil in Niger Delta. So when you enter office today, you are going to be taking an office that is broke. So you don't have time for nonsense. You want to get in and you want to start working. You need a government of national unity. Reach out to everyone, not by appointing people into office, but by creating policies that signal to every Nigerian that I am here to do business, I am here to create wealth, and the nation will reciprocate. That's my take. If you like, go and put that one that says, I don't know. Okay, you've got the floor, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening.
How you doing, sir?
Yeah, my little question is this, because if we devalue Naira, because I'm a kind of businessman in Oka, specifically in Anambra State.
Okay.
So if we kind of devalue the Naira, something that we used to purchase, or something that we used to purchase one more 500 Naira, will now become 1,000, for instance. I think something like that.
Correct.
Then, but what I'm asking, that if it starts, people will not be happy.
True.
People will not feel that happy.
True.
Because I do know for now, things that we used to sell 15 Naira now, we used to sell it like now 150, 200 Naira.
True.
So now, if people start buying things as that thing that we used to sell that 15 Naira to 500 Naira, how will people react?
Okay.
As of the moment?
That
so many people are even annoyed that the value that what they are buying now, what they are buying then is more cheaper than what they are buying now.
I agree.
So I don't understand. Maybe is it that if we devalue it now, then at the long run, then and that second thing there is before a local production or a local product enters the market like this, it's very, very hard than all these foreign products. So some of our people, I don't know if we are going to change the orientation of our people. Then the third thing, if they devalue the Naira, I hope they will increase, the government will also increase the salary of the workers. Because if not, people will be crying.
I hear you.
My own.
Okay.
I'm talking like a businessman.
I want you to stay back, and I want you to write this question. I want to answer 3 of them that are very, very good questions. These are real day-to-day questions. So remind me of the other 2. Your first question is, you are asking that when we devalue the Naira, right? You are asking that the prices are going to go up.
Hello?
Okay?
Yes.
So prices are going to go up. So what's going to happen? So remember that economics is like a cycle. Let's take Aba shoes. Let's take shoes made in Aba. Before, in the 1970s, there was no Aba shoes. We import all our shoes from Italy, now, because Italy shoes are cheap. When the Naira got devalued in 1970, what happened to Italian shoes? Their price went up because we've devalued the Naira, so we need more Naira to buy Italian shoes. So now nobody in Aba can buy Italian shoes anymore. They're expensive. So what happened? Aba shoes then came. So what will happen?
People were forced to start buying the local ones now.
So what happened now? They had to go to Kano and get Kano leather. Then they went to Edo and got Edo gum, Then they went to Aba and they started to stitch those local shoes that were very, very bad quality then. But over the years, Aba shoes are now looking like Italian shoes now because they were forced to buy the local ones and make it, good to start to wear, right? That's the circle of economics. When the imports become expensive, it creates an opportunity for a substitute to come to the market to replace that expensive import. Because if you don't do it this way, Abba shoes can never ever compete with Italian shoes. Never. So over time now, Abba shoes are now cheaper than Italian shoes, and their quality has also gone up in price. So that's what will happen when you devalue. You have to remember you have to tie the value to trade. If you simply devalue for devaluing's sake, you are making people to suffer. But if you say you want to devalue so that Abba shoes will become cheaper and people will start to buy Abba shoes, you don't have to ban Italian shoes. Nobody will buy it. It's expensive. So the market will flow to Abba. What else will happen? Trade of leather from Kano to Aba will go up. You are creating jobs. Trade of gum from Edo to Aba will go up. You are creating jobs. Tax revenues will go up because as you are doing leather, you are paying tax in Nigeria. That's why devaluation is an advantage. But people look at only the. So do you get the point I'm making? Yeah.
Yes, I got to a point clearly now. Then why is government taking time to do all these things?
Because the government does not do devaluation in Nigeria as a strategy. They are devaluing because they don't have money to pay the airlines. So they devalue in quote, not just they don't have money. So when they devalue, they are able to get more Naira per dollar. That's all they're interested in. They're not devaluing because they want to link industries together to make the economy grow. They are not devaluing as a strategy, but as a response. So look at it this way. Okay. When you sell 1 million barrels of crude oil, you get let's say you get $1 million. That $1 million is 500 million naira to Nigeria. Officially. What if your oil sales are now being bunkered? You cannot sell oil again. What do you do? If you are no longer selling 1 million barrels, you're only selling 500,000 barrels, you devalue. So that 500,000 barrels, if you devalue Naira, you get the same 1 million Naira because you've devalued your Naira. That is devaluing as a response, not as a strategy. The Chinese are devaluing as a strategy to export. Same as the Vietnamese. But we are not. That's why you see the wahala is that when people say devalue, they hate it because to them it means prices going up. But if prices of cars go up so that Innocent can make cars in Nigeria cheaper, nobody will complain. If price of textiles go up so that the Kano textiles can make textiles cheaper in Nigeria, nobody will complain. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. In fact, it's perfect.
What's your second? You asked the second question. You said there were good questions, and I. So the second question was you were asking about. If you don't remember, that's fine. You asked me three.
I lost my line of thought. But this question, please, I want you to answer me also. Then I think some of my friends traveled to Western world because of this money issue, because they want a situation whereby when they make money, then when they arrive this place, they have a lot of money to do things they want to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe our mentality have not changed. Maybe, or is it that system of education have not changed to make us to see reasons towards production more than where we can find job. So
well,
that is
good question again. Again, remember, right? If you look at there's a chart that they publish in the US where they talk about the richest Americans by what they do. The richest people in any economy are the business owners, then the middle class, then the employed. The problem in Nigeria is that it is very difficult to have a job. To build a business in Nigeria. Let's take Ekene Dilichukwu. We all grew up riding Ekene Dilichukwu in the East, right? Can you imagine what it would take to create an Ekene Dilichukwu today with the bad road, expensive diesel, police on the road, and all that insecurity? So it's a lot of problem to have a business in Nigeria. It is cheaper. I argue this point is a bad point to just take your money and buy federal government bonds and make 10% than creating a business in Nigeria. Whenever the risk-free rates of any country is very, very high, it's not good. because that means that entrepreneurs don't have an incentive to invest in the real economy. So your friends going to America, they are actually reacting in a smart way. Why work in Nigeria when you can do the same work in America, get the same dollar, bring it to Nigeria and build a house? It's not just the money, the opportunity in America. I give you an example. In America, I take 5% of my money and buy a house. If the house is worth 100 Naira, I can buy the house with $5. Then I go to the bank and take a loan with that same house and take the money from that loan to Nigeria, buy land, build house, sell the house, go back to America and pay for the loan. Why? Because they have the structure in America to do that, not in Nigeria. So people go to America because there are more opportunities. When I mean America, I mean they're Japan. That's the problem. If the country wants to keep its young people, create opportunities, then people will stay. Nobody wants to come to America. It's cold. They don't have pepper. They don't have what's it called, abacha in America. So everybody wants to stay in Nigeria, but you can't stay in Nigeria if there are no jobs. There are no jobs in Nigeria.
If the government, for me, if the government is wise, if our government wants to be wise, they should, I don't know, but they should listen to the Southeastern people.
I don't want. Don't put us in trouble. Okay.
It means for business to flow very well.
I don't think it's okay. Let me just. I don't want to enter trouble.
That's what I have to say for you.
See, let me tell you. Okay. Every Nigerian, I told you, every Nigerian is an economist. Every Nigerian is a trader. Every Nigerian knows what to do. We just have a government that does not listen. Like you say, it's not Southeast. If you go to Kano, Ijesha, you will see traders for centuries making money. But somehow Nigeria has allowed the government to come between the people and business. And we've not changed. When we get there, when we start to link the government to our personal pockets, maybe we'll change. I've got ABZ Sharbitu. How are you, sir? I don't know if you founder of CEO ABZ Shaributu Investments. How are you, sir? You've got the floor. Going once, ABZS once, ABZS twice. Daramola, how are you doing, sir? I've got Damilola De Carls. How are you, sir? That's a nice picture over there.
Hi.
How are you doing, sir?
Thank you very much.
What's up?
Hi, good evening. Okay, so I wanted to maybe discuss on this topic of valuation.
Yes.
Devaluation. I would maybe say it's a broad stroke approach as opposed to more. I think the previous speaker just now spoke about using devaluation as a strategy, but devaluation as a strategy, it's more of a broad stroke approach, because so instead of us targeting more, like we're trying to encourage the example of leather production or shoe production in Nigeria. Instead of basically setting trade import or basically increasing import levies for shoes, and then we choose to devalue the entire Naira as opposed to targeting specific industries and trying to encourage those industries to grow within the country. That's the more specific approach, rather than putting the entire economy, or at least the entire economy, on a general stress, as opposed to just targeting individual industry that want to grow. For example, let's say we would like to increase production of innocent. Why don't we just simply target this import levies that come in of importing cars into the country? Thereby, we specifically target increasing the price of imported cars. That's something I think most other economies use. Trump used it during the trade war with China, targeting specific industry rather than just targeting the entire.
That's broad stroke, right?
Yeah, broad stroke approach. So it makes more sense to use more precise approaches rather than just using devaluation of the entire Naira, because then that would cause a lot more stress, which would then consequently lead to political unrest in the entire economy. And that would, I don't think a new government would want to handle that
I get your point. Yeah, and it's two. Yeah, you're talking about two topics. Like if you look at it this way, right? So Trump did trade tariffs to target steel. What's it called? What comes from China? Steel and aluminium from China. Specific targeted trade tariffs. But Trump didn't touch the exchange rate. He can't, because the dollar is floating. It's free floating. He can if he wants to. He can he can ask the Fed to borrow. He can do certain policies that will target the dollar, but he didn't touch the dollar. He targeted tariffs, which is trade, and of course, trade is tied back to the currency. And his point was this: the U.S. has a trade deficit with China because we are buying lots of stuff from you guys. You guys are not buying from us. His entire plan was to force the Chinese to buy more agricultural products from America because that would help him politically and also help the economy. And in a way, it worked. If you can see, even till today, the Biden administration is still fighting with China on the same Trump policies that they were against when Trump was doing it. So, but tariffs are, they are illegal, right? The World Trade Organization doesn't like tariffs. Trump was able to do it because he made an argument that the Chinese were illegally propping up the local industries in China. Hence, they were dumping cheap products in America. But guess what Trump did again, which goes to your point? Trump went back to America and created the conditions for manufacturing in America to thrive. Before Trump became president, the corporate tax rate in communist China was lower than capitalist America. Just let me say that again, just so you follow. Before Trump became president, the corporate tax rate in communist China was lower than the corporate tax rate in capitalist China. So what did Trump do? He reduced taxes in America. He passed the Opportunity Trade Act. He tried to start to work on NAFTA. He renamed it to whatever, right? That created the conditions. He passed in that tax cut the provision that you could repatriate funds from anywhere in the world back to America one time, no taxes. So the point I make is that even if you do trade tariffs, right, you still have got to come back to Nigeria and create the policies locally that when industrialists wants to come back to Nigeria, they have an advantage. They have an incentive to come back. You have your hand up. What's up, Nola? Go ahead.
Actually, I think you already answered the question. But to maybe ask your point, you said he targeted this steel industry. However, you know what? Go on. You already answered the question. It doesn't really make any sense anymore to ask the question.
Yeah. So the point again I'm making is that Trump did the internal, then the external. So he fixed the internal side of the economy, then he went after China. If we simply close our borders like we did in Nigeria without fixing the need, why we can't grow demand in Nigeria, that's the point I'm making. We have to do internal and external. You just can't close the border and expect rice production will go up. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I agree with you.
Gotcha.
Sorry, to maybe add to it again.
Yeah.
For example, you mentioned the fact that with global trades that using maybe trade tariffs are maybe considered illegal.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think almost every country does that. For example, I take the European Union.
Yeah.
I live in the European Union, and then for example, we have this agricultural policy, this common CAP, common agricultural policy of the European Union. Certain products are much cheaper. For example, beef is much cheaper to produce in South America, much cheaper to produce in America, and it's much cheaper to even produce there and transport down to the European Union. However, they also set up these certain policies that prevent importation of these products into their country. Technically, they might not call it trade levies or maybe import levies, but they're also setting policies that reduces the incentive to import these products into their economy, thereby encouraging local production. So if I think that instead of taking a completely broad approach, as you said, or maybe with devaluation, it makes more sense to just go precisely target specific industries, target challenges that are facing these industries, and then find solutions to these industries. I think that's a much more sustainable approach to developing the Nigerian economy.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you completely, and that's what we should do. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying yes, and I'm saying we can copy how the US does it. Target the industry, fix the internal, do the external. I totally agree with you. I'm just making the further point again. So you go to your point on tariffs. Free trade is a myth. There is no free trade anywhere on earth. You cannot pull up any country that allows 100% imports into its country. None. The US, China, Vietnam, Israel, EU, none. Literally, matter of fact, the EU is hypocritical. They want to ban imports of palm oil because it harms the economy. What are they going to replace palm oil with? Sunflower oil. Where is sunflower oil grown? France. They also want to now put a carbon, pay attention, Nigeria, they want to put a carbon tariff on all imports. So if any product you're importing to the EU has carbon, what is carbon? Fertilizer, steel, cement, anything that has, what I mean carbon, is made from carbon or it has carbon. So if you make a chair, let me even make it, if you make a Nollywood movie with generator to make that Nollywood movie, you're using carbon. The EU will tax that film, that Nollywood film, a carbon tax because they want you in Nigeria to go green. But it's all hypocrisy. They are simply protecting their market from cheaper imports from Nigeria and Vietnam. So they say it's carbon tax when they know you cannot easily change over from generator to solar. So no country does free trade. And we have to be smart. But you just can't come and say, I ban you. You do how Trump did it. You do your own study, then you say, oh, because you've done this, I'll ban you. You have to be smart about it. Otherwise, if you do it, WTO would fine you. So that's where I'm going to with this. We have to be smarter in how we use trade, how we understand exchange rate. The exchange rate is a strategy. It's not a response. You don't respond by weakening or devaluing. You should have a strategy and say, I want to grow cocoa exports. Okay, so I'm going to devalue my Naira, but I'll give cocoa guys free fertilizer so they bring more cocoa to the market. Then the foreigners in Belgium that buy cocoa will come to Nigeria and buy more cocoa here than Ivory Coast and Ghana. You have to link it. It just can't be, we need money, devalue. So the CBN will give you money because you can't print. It doesn't make sense. AIG, you've got the floor. So what's happening with you? Thanks, Daramola. Appreciate that.
Already, I think, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I suppose we are discussing monetary policy and what have you.
Yes.
But when I just joined the room, I feel you kind of debased the conversation by sectionalizing it and bringing that narrative we've heard on the streets for a while now, that the Southeast, in quotes, promotes competence and just wants to do business. But if you take statistics of the leadership of the Southeast since the return to democracy in '99, there is nothing that speaks to competence in that part of the country. So it's kind of strange that you're bringing up that competence tag, because I've heard that from other people that, but we believe in competence. Why other people just bring any random person to the position of leadership, So I would, want us to speak to the topic instead of making it a sectional conversation. That's just an observation.
You're right, and if you follow my spaces, we stick only here money, personal finance, and the economy. We only do that. And to maybe if you just joined a bit earlier, the question was asked about what will the next incoming president do in terms of the evaluation. I made the point, I didn't use competence. I made the point that the Southeast is interested in doing business. I said, and I caveated, I said, I'm going to talk politics now. I caveated that the incoming president is going to have his biggest political challenge will be from the people of the Southeast. And I said that what they want in the Southeast is equity. They want to do business. Hence, if you come to power and you pass policies that communicate that I am here for business, I am here to move the country forward economically, they will hear you and they will get behind you. They don't need appointments. They don't need roads or bridges. They need you to say, I hear you and I'm here to drive the nation of Nigeria forward. I made the point that in the Southeast, the present president appointed an Igbo man as a VP twice, and they did not vote for him. The point being made is that they don't react that way. That's not how they are incentivized. They are incentivized by saying the purchases have fallen. Trade policies are doing very well. The Naira policy or the exchange policy is going to be managed by a competent person. Hence, I made the point that appoint even a non-economist as a CBN governor or Minister of Finance. That's what they want to see. I linked it to economics. We're not doing politics here. I'm not backbiting anyone here. So does that give you more, so we say, context to the conversation?
Yes, I would like to just expand for a minute. You said the Southeast more like they will be attracted to a president that wants to do business. Okay. But the Naira, I don't think, I disagree with you on that front. When I hear people from the Southeast, the first thing they say is, all the head of the armed forces are from one section of the country. All the killings in the Southeast are done by Fulani headsmen. Fulani people should leave the Southeast and go back to where they come from. The Fulani wants to take our land. That is the narrative. So what concerns that with what this current government is doing or not doing right as regards not wanting to do business? Because I know the CBN governor is from that part of the country, if I'm correct. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, what's the policy today? We have 44 items banned. I think it's about 46 items banned from accessing FX to import. 46 items banned. We have the border closures. We have the depreciation in Naira. We have the runaway inflation, right? These policies together have killed the SMEs, have killed trade and commerce. Trade is the largest contributor to the GDP of Nigeria, largest. It has even beaten agriculture now. And we can no longer trade in Nigeria because there's insecurity, there's high inflation, there's high unemployment, there's low productivity, there's low consumption, low manufacturing sector contribute to GDP, low manufacturing share of the economy. That's what's going on right now. So what Nigeria, not the Southeast, what Nigerians want to see is a president that says, I hear you, that your number one issue today is the economy, and I will do policies to grow the economy and to grow wealth. Every Nigerian will hear that and will get behind the president. I made the point about the Southeast to say that even the most extreme of Nigerians that are on the other side of the political debate will come in line if the president focuses on the economics. Not to say only the Southeast reacts to economics, but that even the most extreme on the other side of the political spectrum will react positively to anyone that wants to fix the economy. Again, it's all context. Like you said, you joined maybe a bit as I was talking, but we are only doing economics and personal finance here. If I want to do politics, I will do it. So I'm taking my time just to explain to you the context of what we're talking about. I'm not against anybody. I want to explain things to people, and that's what I'm doing, sir.
Thank you for redirecting the conversation. Like Southeast is just a section of the country. If you listen to the news about 2-3 days ago, you will see a very prominent leader from a section of the country also telling us that the incoming government should establish a Ministry of Religious Affairs.
I tell you what, sir.
That is what is part of the country.
I tell you what, sir.
You should know that Nigeria is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multi-whatever cultural, composition of different parts of ethnicity and whatever. So you shouldn't use one section of the country to be like the generality of opinion across board. It doesn't work like that.
Every Nigerian will react to anybody telling them that the economy of Nigeria will do well. Even a non-Nigerian telling any Nigerian that the economy will do well will receive positive vibes in Nigeria. It has nothing to do with the Southeast. I've explained again. I use the Southeast to show that even the most extreme side of the political divide will react to any president that passes policies that will grow wealth for Nigerians. That's the point I'm making. The question was, what will the next president do? And I said the word is confidence, economic confidence. It's measured. If economic confidence goes up, the Naira will strengthen, inflation will fall. Economic confidence. That's where I am, sir. I'm not doing politics. I am simply stating that fact again. The country today is suffering from a bad economy. That's what we're talking today about, devaluing or defending. And we must all get behind whoever is going to be in charge to make this country move forward. With that, so I'm going to turn over to Ishola. Ishola, Precious, how you doing? Go for it.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. Good day, everyone. I wanted to just link the devaluation of Naira. So you mentioned about the link between the devaluation of the Naira to increase in demand of our homegrown products or home-produced products. But my concern is the infrastructural deficit that we currently have in certain industries. So, for instance, now in the agricultural space, our farmers still experience about $9 billion post-harvest loss, right? Loosely means that we spend about $10 billion to import food. So, this is just one sector, right? The agricultural sector. So, I still feel like there's so much. I think our infrastructural deficit is about, 1 trillion Naira. I don't have the right figure, but I know it's very huge and very large and all. So my concern is that even if there's increase in demand for our own products, do we have the infrastructure to actually power this, right? Half of Nigerians are still off the grid. Our roads are not so good and all of this. So how do we
the answer is that we cannot, right? And we can talk about infrastructure for the entire year, right? We can't. You can't grow the economy if you devalue defend without infrastructure. It's a no-brainer, right? We know that. And I think that's why we're just trying to pigeonhole the comments now to just the exchange rate. Because even if you devalue, right, and you want to export cocoa, the ports of Lagos are clogged up. The ports of Calabar and the rest have bad roads to go to them. So you must, like we said, you must do everything like with Damola, we said, internal and external. If you want to drive exports, right, you also have got to fix the roads that take the cocoa from the farms to the ports. You simply can't devalue your way to export. There has to be the fixing of all those means of production to get all these exports out of the country. The number one export, sadly, in Nigeria is Nigerians. We're exporting human capital out of the country. That human capital is going out of Nigeria to go pay taxes in Canada and the US. But long term, that could be an opportunity for Nigeria to say, listen, how can we tap into those folks now to invest back in Nigeria in infrastructure bonds? $1 is 700 Naira, which means if I want to raise 7 million Naira, right, I just need maybe 700,000. There are enough Nigerians abroad that can do that for me. So we have to look at it both ways, that we are losing income today, but we can go back and tap those Nigerians for diaspora bonds and use those diaspora bonds to fix infrastructure. That, to me, I think is the linkage that we have to look at. And if that exchange rate becomes narrower and narrower, Japa itself will stop. If 1 Naira is $1, nobody will jackpot as much because, okay, you're going to walk, there's the same thing, but at least here is warmer and you have the peppered gizzard here. You don't have peppered gizzard over there. So I think that's where you might see a change, but that I think is how we have to look at it. You have a comeback on that, Isola?
Yeah, so I think that would work.
Great, super. All right, let's get BC. BC, I apologize, your hand has been up. I just... BC, hi, go for it, sir.
Good evening, everyone. And on this topic, that whether we should defend or devalue, for me, I think the next administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu already told us where it's going. He said he's going to run a single market. And what does that mean? That means he's going to allow the demand and supply to determine the value of the Naira. So the question now is that, is it going to be devalued if he should do that? We need to look at the circumstances that surround his statements. He also said that subsidy must go, that whether we like it or not, we campaign for 30 days, he will remove subsidy. And I will tell you the link there. As of today, we are spending almost $1 billion on subsidy. Just subsidy, not talk of the cost of the product. As of today, NNPC is the singular importer of PMS. And what do they do? What they simply do is that when they make money from crude oil sale, they don't remit to CBN. They go to the international market and buy PMS using the FX. And that's why all this while they are saying, we don't have anything to give the federal account. And that is the major reason why we don't have FX in CBN. So with the Dangote refinery coming up tomorrow, it will reduce the stress on NNPC. That means any crude oil sale we make, we can get back foreign exchange for it. And if you notice, the caveat in the Dangote deal is that, because Nigeria invested, I think, 20%, is that we are going to be buying in Naira. That was the deal they had with Dangote. They said we are going to buy.
What will Dangote buy in? What will Dangote buy in?
Dangote they will give him crude.
In what currency?
650,000 barrels.
In what currency?
Like half of what we produce.
In what currency?
Do you understand? So
BC.
The remaining can be exported.
BC. No, wait. In what currency will he get the 600,000 barrels?
He will get, definitely, because we will not be selling. I think, I don't know the agreement, but definitely since it's coming from Nigeria, I don't think that means it might likely be Naira, likely. But it's possible that it can also be dollars, because he's also selling to foreign marketers. No,
I know, but we're focusing on the 650 to Nigeria.
Yes.
So that one, will he pay in Naira or dollars?
Most likely, he will likely pay in Naira, because since we are saying that we're going to be selling to him, buying in Naira, and that's the entire value chain. We're going to buy in Naira. Unlike now, what we are doing, that we are buying the entire value chain in dollars.
So that means that we're going to lose the 650,000 in dollars. That's what it means.
We might not lose everything. It depends on the arrangement. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the stress on our FX will drastically go down.
I agree.
And that is a short-term fix. And that is why Asiwaju is also telling us that I will make sure that I improve production locally, which is like a long-term plan. Because whether we like it or not, we Nigerians, our taste is foreign. And that's one of the major reasons why our importation is affecting the FX. Everybody's demanding for dollars. But by the time you run an open market, whereby the demand and supply, there's nothing like parallel market, and with the stress on our FX going down, I think the economy will start picking up. Because the major problem a lot of companies have today is that when they do their business in Naira, they can't go to CBN. Whenever they go to CBN, give me the FX equivalent. I want to repatriate to my parent company. They are not able to get FX. And that is why everybody say that I don't want to do business in Nigeria. If you want to do business, buy in dollars.
I got you.
So I think it's a game changer the Dangote refinery, and I want us to also be fair to the previous government. The previous government and our previous, it's not that they don't know what they are supposed to do, but the problem is that we don't have the facility on ground to be able to say that we don't want to defend them. And for your information, every economy defends their currency, whether we like it or not. It depends on the situation around that economy at that particular point in time. I was told that Japan, during the COVID era, during this period, they also defended the yen.
There is nothing wrong with defending your currency.
Yes, you understand. So for me, I think that's one of me. I'm actually betting on Asiwaju. I'm selling some of my FX.
Yeah.
I'm selling before 29. I'm just telling you.
You are selling
because I listen to him. He's determined and he knows what to do. And,
I got you.
And I pray we all educate Nigerians that they should please, because whether we like it or not, we can't eat our cake and have it. We'll go through some period of stress and pain. Because the moment he runs a single market, everything will go up. Inflation will go up, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
It will first go up, then later it will start
coming down.
By the time we start seeing effect. But for why the previous government couldn't do it is because of this Dangote refinery didn't come up. Because the idea is that, yes, if it goes up initially, when Dangote have come on stream, the impact will not be as much as if we are still importing PMS.
BC, I agree with the structure of your argument. I think you are right to say that the Dangote refinery is a game changer. It is, because we now have one facility locally. Even if we subsidize locally, it is good. For me, even if we are subsidizing locally, it's fine. So when I was asking you 650,000, I don't mind if it's in Naira and we lose the dollar. I don't mind because we are subsidizing locally. But let me just say something to you.
Money is even coming into our economy.
I agree. So let me just say something to you, right? The refinery itself does not have any bearing to the retail price of PMS in Nigeria. The price of PMS in Nigeria has to do with the price of crude oil internationally. End of story. Why we blame Buhari for not devaluing was that in 2015, the price of crude oil in the world dipped to as low as 40. They did not remove the subsidy when it was 40. They called it remodulation. If they had removed the subsidy and passed PIB then, when the prices went back up, the market mechanisms would have started to work at least at that time. That's why we're blaming Buhari. So if you come now in Nigeria now and you put a refinery in Nigeria, you put 100 refineries in Nigeria, it will only change the retail price of PMS in Nigeria if the supply coming out of the refineries is more than the demand. Then prices fall. Otherwise, if already said Dangote is paying for 650,000 barrels in Naira, which means Nigeria would lose 650,000 barrels in dollar terms.
No. Don't look at it like that.
Why not?
Don't look at it like that. Because, yes, Dangote might be taking it, but it's within our economy. We are not paying. Dangote will take it inside Nigeria.
Yes, but the cost of something
inside Nigeria.
BC, the cost of something is the cost of something else. In economics, the cost of an orange is the cost of apple I did not take. So the cost of Dangote's refineries of the 650,000 barrels is not the cost of the crude oil to Dangote. It's the cost of not selling it to the international market.
Wait. Please try and understand it. The 650,000 barrels will still be at the rate of dollars.
But he's buying in Naira.
But it's at the rate of dollars.
But
and now don't forget that when you remove subsidy, it's the market forces that will determine the cost of PMS. And what that means is that
BC, hold on. BC, what price will Dangote buy? What currency will Dangote buy the 650,000 barrels that he's going to use in the refinery? What currency?
I can't say for a fact, but he will buy it at the international price.
No, what currency? What currency?
Wait. If dollars if crude oil is like $100 and Naira is maybe 500 Naira, that means he will be paying like 5,000 Naira per every barrel.
So he's buying it at the dollar rate then?
Yes, he's buying at the dollar rate.
So what currency? What currency will he pay?
The demand for the FX, because he's buying in Naira at dollar rate, because he can't sell less than the international market price, flat price.
No, but PC.
So definitely will buy using Naira.
Yes.
He will also sell using Naira.
Okay, so
the demand for FX will reduce drastically from that.
No,
they are taking $1 billion off the demand of FX.
Yes, but I want you to. Let's take it step by step. If he pays in Naira, what you are saying is fine.
Mm-hmm.
If he pays in dollar, look at these two scenarios. Please let me talk. let me see. I'm not arguing with you, sir. I'm not trying to get you. I'm not trying to get you. I'm trying to say who are listening to us. Let them understand what we're saying.
Yes.
He can only pay in Naira or dollar. If he pays in dollar, that means the retail price in Nigeria will still have a subsidy. Because if the international price goes up,
if you pay, wait, please, sorry, come in. If you repeat, please.
He can only pay in Naira and dollars. If he pays in dollars, that means that the local price of PMS is going to swing in respect to the international price of dollar, of crude oil, if he pays in dollar. If he pays in Naira, that means that what Nigeria will subsidize to him is the difference between what we would have sold the $650,000 barrels to the international community. What I'm saying is that the subsidy will remain. It will simply be either it's a local subsidy or an international subsidy.
No, sir.
The subsidy is not going anywhere.
No, sir. Subsidy will not remain. Don't forget that in this year, maybe for the first few months, you can say that maybe the dollar difference might affect the subsidy. But the plan is that they want to run a singular market, whereby the cost of Naira and dollar is fixed. We know it's the market that is determining it. So if he decides to sell to us in Naira, we pay the equivalent in dollars. Only that we are giving him Naira. If he decides to sell in dollars, we can give him dollars. If he decides to buy in dollars,
but if you sell,
dollars,
but
the truth of matter is that it's going to be separated. Please let me explain to you. Please, it's going to be separated. The trading is going to be separated from the retailing. The trading most likely will be in dollars because crude oil is flat price in dollars. But the retailing will now be sold in Naira, which is, since they've removed subsidy, he will still make his money and he can easily convert his money back to
There's no subsidy removed. That's the point I'm telling you, BC. The subsidy is not going anywhere.
No, the subsidy will go, sir.
Where is it going to go to? Okay. Last time, let's do it again. BC, calm down. Let's do it again. We'll take it slowly. So, this is the last one, though. Last one, and we'll move on. Last one. Let's take it again. He can only buy crude oil from the NNPC or from Nigeria in dollars or Naira. You agree? Let's talk about Naira.
You're selling it to him in Naira.
No, don't. Okay, let's.
So if they are selling to him in Naira, it's going to be the equivalent in dollars at the market.
Basically, I want you to count.
No. It's not gonna be. No. Don't mix that up. The reason they are giving him in Naira, for instance, if it's going for $150, I mean, how much is the market price now of crude oil? is about.
Let's say it's $100. Let's say it's $100.
So if it is $100, meaning that $100
times about please. Let me put the principle down. The market is already a singular market. We are not running a parallel market. And the crude oil is $100. And let's say dollar is now 700 Naira.
Yes, but you see, I'm trying to explain to you. You are interrupting. Look at what I'm trying to say, sir. Right? If he's buying in Naira, then the cost is not what he's paying, but what we are not taking. In economics, the cost of something is the cost foregone. The cost of an orange is the cost of the apple you did not buy. So when he buys in Naira, the cost is the dollars not earned.
Yes, we are not earning. I agree with you.
Okay.
But it won't be as it is now.
So you agree, but it's not as the subsidy does not go anywhere. Why does it?
No, it's not more how would I explain? It's not more subsidy. Subsidy is that we are supposed to be paying 500 Naira.
BC, listen. BC, wait.
No. The only problem is that you might not have the
BC, calm down.
Volume of effects that you are supposed to.
You are going round and round. Yeah, you are dodging there's a central thing. You are going round and round. The central thing is this. What is a subsidy? The subsidy is that there is an international price and there's a local price. As long as you are selling locally, different from internationally, there's a subsidy.
Yes, now.
So wait, hold on. Pause. If I sell locally, different from internationally, I subsidize. No ifs, no buts. Yes. Okay, so if you get that point, put that point on the right-hand side. Let's come to the left-hand side. If Dangote pays in Naira, that means the cost of Dangote is the dollars that Nigeria did not take from him. Right?
Please. And that's why I say you need to separate it. There is a trading side and the retail side.
You are complicating a simple thing, BC. BC, you are complicating a simple thing. BC, you are complicating a very, very simple thing. It's a very, very simple thing. I hear you, and you are making this thing very. This is a very simple thing. Listen, let's take Gala. Forget crude. Let's take Gala. Gala is sold in America. Gala is sold in Nigeria. The price of Gala in America is $1. The price of Gala in Nigeria is how much? Right now, there are two. Wait, Chere. Don't worry, BC. I'm not. Let me just saying facts. Gala in Nigeria is either 500 Naira or 750 Naira. Two exchange rates. Okay. What we are saying now is this. As long as the real price of Gala in Nigeria should be 750, not 500, because that's what $1 in America is. So the price of Gala in America is $1, which means in Nigeria it should be 750. No argument.
And that is what they are saying they want.
Wait, okay, hold on then. So if we come to Nigeria, hear my statement I made to you again. The subsidy exists because there's a difference between the American in quote price and the Nigerian price. As long as you do not buy Gala in Nigeria for 750, you are subsidizing. That's what I'm telling you. So the subsidy goes
exactly, but you are mixing it up, sir. Sorry. We are talking about products here. Crude oil.
Oh man, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You are complicating a simple thing.
The only thing Nigeria is using is the volume of effects that is supposed to.
You are complicating it's a simple thing, but you've anchored on this. You've anchored and you don't want to remove your anchor. Olumide, go ahead, sir.
There's no problem. You can go ahead, but I'm just for information. I'm also in the oil and gas industry. Right?
Doesn't matter. BC, I'm in finance. We're talking money. We're talking money. Whatever you say, we're talking money. What are the?
You are saying if they remove subsidy,
Can I help this out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe what this is saying is that to separate basically having a local economy and of course an international economy. The price that we would sell to Dangote would most likely still be anchored based on the international price of oil.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly. And then, however, the thing is, we create a separate economy that, of course, this currency, that is what the average man pays on the street, versus what we buy from, or the money that goes to Dangote is in a circular flow, just within that economy. Just within the Nigerian economy alone.
Yeah.
Therefore, it does not go outside. So therefore, it's like a separate entity from the international market.
Yeah, I got you. But
so technically, we are. I mean, that market is isolated from the international market. Well, not completely isolated.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point I'm making. This where he's getting it wrong, and this is what I want to emphasize. Economics works this way. If I buy Gary, the cost of Gary is not what I paid for the Gary, but the semovita I did not buy. Opportunity cost. That's how economics cost things. So if
the value you get is technically the same thing, because then.
But we're not talking about value. We're talking about cost.
And that value you lost will be added to the cost.
BC, hold on. We're not talking of value. We are talking of the cost. I asked, what currency would Dangote paying? What is the cost of that to Nigeria? The subsidy is the cost price less the market price. That's subsidy. If the market price is 100, but the cost is 200, you subsidize 100. We're not talking of value. We are talking of cost. The cost in economics is the cost of what is foregone. If Dangote pays in Naira, then the cost is the dollars foregone. That cost, I am saying, does not go anywhere. It's a cost. The only way the subsidy goes is if the international price falls at the same price or at the same level as the local cost, then there's no subsidy. Go, sir. Go ahead.
But in reality, there really is no subsidy because, for example, if the dollar trade, if oil trades at let me use an example. I use $100 per barrel, and basically the exchange rate is about 500. That's 500 times 1,000 times 100. That's 5,000. But however, if let's say Russia and Ukraine stop their war and then oil prices drop significantly, technically the prices also drop. Or let's say the war also goes longer, or maybe the US cannot produce, or Iran cannot produce.
Exactly.
Maybe one of these Middle Eastern countries cannot produce. Then the price goes higher. Technically, we also pay higher in the local currency. But the thing is, we do not make this exchange between our local currency for.
But it doesn't matter. This is the point. It doesn't matter.
A false sense of isolation for this particular.
But it doesn't. This is the point. It does. I'm trying. I'm busy. I'm not asking you to speak, or I'm muting you, but I'm not trying to stop you from talking. No, busy. I'm saying to you, don't get me wrong. I'm not asking not to speak. I'm asking just other people can speak. I'm not muting you because I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. You are making a good point. The point I'm making is this. See the point I'm making. Whatever is the argument, there is a cost of something. Everything must be costed. Whether it's Naira, there's a cost to it. What is that cost? What is that cost? That cost is the cost foregone. If there's a road and there's a train and there's an aeroplane, what is the cost of going by aeroplane? What's the cost of going by on the plane? That's what we're asking here. Is the cost of the plane ticket I pay, or the cost of not taking the car? That's what we're asking. What's the cost of the Dangote, that thing he pays? What's the cost of it to Nigeria? The cost is the loss of forex revenues. We can argue, like this is saying, that because he's not paying forex, there is no pressure on the CBN. But then again, the forex is not coming into Nigeria because we're not selling that crude oil, exporting out of the country. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the fact that there's a subsidy as long as the international price is not the local price. There is a subsidy. You can't take it away. It's there.
But sorry, can I put things?
Go ahead. I'm going to stop talking.
I think it is important for us to note that this arrangement doesn't affect the price of the crude that Dangote is going to be buying. If the price of the crude is $1 per barrel in the international market, Dangote is going to be paying equivalent of that $1, but in Naira. That is just the difference. I don't think we are going to be losing anything.
We lose the forex.
In as much as we have float our Naira and there's no disparity between the CBN exchange rate and the black market.
Okay.
In as much as we have done that, we are not going to be having some. But if that is not done, that is when government is going to be, the subsidy is going to be remain.
What is crude oil priced in? Marco, what is crude oil priced in?
The crude oil pricing is determined by international market.
In what currency is it priced in? So what you're saying is that when we sell to Dangote in Naira, right? If we want to import fertilizer, what do we pay the fertilizer company? Naira or dollar?
Please come again. I didn't get that.
If we sell the crude oil to Dangote in Naira and we want to import fertilizer, do we pay the fertilizer company Naira or dollar?
Okay, let's assume we are importing fertilizer, we pay in dollar. But
okay,
don't forget that.
Hold on. Hold on. You hold on.
Dangote is paying on. Okay.
Dangote paid you in Naira. Would you import fertilizer in Naira or dollar?
Would I import
fertilizer in Naira or dollar?
It's going to be in dollar.
So then what is the point? Are you not getting the point I'm making? That you are sent to Dangote in dollar, in Naira, but you turn around and use dollar to import other items. So there is no change.
Don't forget that what for at present the most single product that we spend most of our dollar earnings on, forex earning on, is this petroleum product.
But you will still pay the petroleum products. You will still pay the petroleum. The difference with Dangote, you will not pay demurrage, storage, and importation. You will still pay for the crude oil now. The crude oil is still priced in dollar.
There will not be pressure on the dollar.
Why won't there be pressure on dollar?
There will not be pressure on the
Why not? You are saying, are you not importing the fertilizer, quote unquote, in dollar? So where is the pressure going to?
I didn't get that.
Where is the pressure going to? Where is this pressure? Where is it going to? Are you saying dollar will disappear? Dollar demand will disappear because there's Dangote refining? Is that what people are arguing? That dollar demand will disappear because there's a refining in Nigeria?
It's not going to disappear, but it's going to be reduced.
Okay.
And don't forget that Dangote refinery is going to earn us dollar by selling to other African countries.
I don't agree. Carlo, I don't
agree. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to just break in because the conversation was back and forth. And yes, I respect the previous speaker's comment. But see, let's look at it in three dynamics. First of all, let's start with the cement. We know what happened to cement. Has there been a difference? You see, the thing we are missing, just like what Carl is trying to say, and I think
what happened is
let him hold on.
I want to finish so that you can get my point. What happened is that you see, commodities are not localized. The pricing is not localized. If you look at Saudi Aramco, for example, if you look at all these companies, where they get their margins are refining and the fact that they have markets in different places. Dangote, first of all, has billions of dollars in debt. ICBC, the Bank of China, gave him, I think, 4 billion last time I checked on Bloomberg. And if you look at the fact that even CBN had to subsidize because he got FX also from the CBN to a subsidized rate, all those things factor in. But it comes to play like, okay, when it comes to processing and things like that, how is it? Are you saying that we are going to gain more dollars? Because see, what I can argue with you is that is going to bring what we call energy security. The fact that the country has been put under siege because, for example, when the European market had problem with refinery maintenance and our ports cannot really take in certain ships and cannot bring, so we have to take in smaller ships that have to be brought in through smaller ships and things like that. All those things will come to end. But I disagree. Like it only make the market more efficient, bring in more. But in the near term, based on pricing of oil, I don't think I don't see that happening, because you are not telling me that it's going to export refined petrol to, despite the fact that yes, we are hearing that it's going to. But look at the optimal capacity. That's 650, right? Now, we know that at the start, the refinery will likely take 40 to 60. So we don't know the local consumption capacity. Likewise, with neighboring countries. So I think it's fair for us to look at the objectives, like the Dangote cement refinery, the business model. It doesn't really help the Nigerian economic effects.
Cement factory, the cement factor is not the same with the refinery. Remember, NMPC also has share in that company. So always put that at the back of your mind. And that's also one of the
yes, okay. But the NMPC has 20. It's not even, I understand what you're saying. Guarantees, I think 20%, right? That will be supplying. Yes, I understand what you're saying. But you've forgotten that the price of oil is very fluid. Do you know why Saudi Arabia is going to the bond market? Are you aware? Because their economy is going to a deficit. Despite the fact Saudi Arabia made $161 billion last year. So the fact that Saudi Arabia is going to the debt market tells you how very fluid energy prices are. So if you base your price just on speculation, because crude oil price is rallying at $75 a barrel, you don't know what's going to happen in 2 months' time. And see, the war in Russia and Ukraine is even keeping price that high, because the way the world is moving towards renewables and things like that tells you the progression. So it's a very risky proposition saying that the price of Dangote's refinery will definitely bring in. I don't really buy that. I feel that apart from energy security, I think
it will bring in forest, definitely, because the rest of African countries are going to buy from Nigeria. And guess what? Yes, the crude oil might be given to him in Naira, and I'm sure that's going to be for a period. It's not going to be forever. Just to stabilize the surface for people to enjoy it before he started selling it with that price. Also remember, the two refineries, the Warri and Port Harcourt one, two of them might kick in maybe towards middle of this year. Maybe towards the end of this year. So I think what we should understand, I understand what Kalu is saying exactly. Subsidy is still there. Because even when you add on the production money is still there. So let us not rule out that. The only difference is that we're not going to pay those demo rates, those import duties and all that. But the other things are still there. But then, covering it without not buying it in dollars. That's what's just going to, it just took out that. But then, I hope that government can just make it, like I said to somebody somewhere, let him sell it for us at 150 for 1 year. After 1 year, then government will have straightened out certain things about itself, and then we can move on from there. But honestly speaking, from the
just chipping. But sorry, you've forgotten that when he was building that refinery, he used debt. You've forgotten that. You've forgotten that most of those debts were in dollars. You've forgotten that hold on. You've forgotten, I just want to learn. You've forgotten that is the commodity, the primary product is denominated in dollars. All those things play. And you've forgotten that the cost of borrowing has gone up. That's why many companies right now are reducing their dollar debt exposure. So it will be a pretty smart thing for him, as much as possible, to reduce his debt, because the cost of interest definitely will go. So you are trying to tell me that he's immune to those things when the prevailing market tells you that the fluidity of the world economy shows that there's liquidity crunch. So I don't buy the fact that it's going to pump into that. What you could just say is that, yes, the net term effect is that, yes, it's going to bring in energy security. We're going to have much more great jobs.
Okay, let me
the economy.
Let's run the table. Let me run the table. Let me get El Jeffy. Hold up. El Jeffy, go ahead. What's in your mind?
I think there are a lot of things. Good evening, Mr. Kalu. I think there are a lot of things you guys are not putting into factor in all this discussion. There is a pact already between Nigeria and the Dangote refinery to sell him constant 300,000 barrels per day. That is the pact, not the 650. The remaining 350, Dangote will source for it himself. Either buy from the oil company in Nigeria, but directly from Nigerian government, it is 300,000 per day.
Okay.
Which is certain. Yeah. So whether they're going to sell that to him in Naira or they're going to sell to him in dollar, I don't know. But that he's going to sell to Nigerians in Naira, that's certain also.
So that's good information. All right. Yeah. Jeffrey, are you good?
Yeah. So
that's good. That's good information.
Think, we are not looking at is that whatever arrangement you guys are talking about now will not go forever. It will not last for too long. It's just for Nigerians to be stable with our, let me say, our access to the product, to the petroleum product for now, which is going to, but because basically when you look at Dangote refinery, it is basically designed for exports, not for local consumption. When you go check
it's in an export processing zone. Hint.
So it is basically designed for export. So if it's just going to rescue Nigeria for a while, it's just for a while, just for us to be stable. So we should not really consider Dangote refinery as the forever solution to the Nigeria petroleum problem.
Jeff, let me make it clear for you. Let me clear for listening. The Dangote refinery is built to export Nigerian crude oil products and make dollars for Nigeria. Dangote is not built to supply PMS to NNPC Jora or NNPC Abakaliki. That's for NNPC refineries. So he will do it because it's in Nigeria or because people are, okay, he loves people, but that's not why it was built. They did not give him funding with subsidized dollar to supply NNPC Damaturu and NNPC Aba with PMS and diesel. No, it's built to export Nigerian crude oil components, condensate petrochemicals outside the country, just like Dangote Petrochemical is exporting fertilizers today to Brazil and the US and not to Nigeria. Keep that in mind, guys. Prince, you've got the floor, sir. Prince. Ninja Movolasi. Prince, you've got the floor. Go ahead, sir. Thanks, Jeffy. Prince having some issues. Mr. Narcos, go ahead. Prince is having issues. We'll get Mr. Narcos, go ahead, sir.
No, I'm here.
Oh, Narcos, yeah. Okay, Prince, go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been hearing everything and I really appreciate all the points everyone is pointing out. But then the thing I wanted to actually point out is outside the whole oil and gas conversation that we're having. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if that's okay.
We're actually talking about the Naira. Should we devalue? Should we defend it?
Exactly.
The whole issue about the Dangote refinery is because that's going to be, in all honesty, it's going to be a big determinant in devaluing or defending. Because like someone has right, like I think BC pointed out, the bulk of our forex expenditures right now is to import PMS. So if we can have something that removes the import of PMS, then that's going to be a big factor for the next CBN government to say it's going to devalue or defend. Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that Dangote is doing it. That's where Dangote comes in and is going to solve that problem. So we'll give him props for that. But then my own point now is we are very heavy at importing in Nigeria here. And then the whole part where you said the Southeast, they are ready to work. But then if you think about it, they're even the ones that even import the most, right? And then we have like a list of things that should not be imported into Nigeria. But then you still see them getting imported, right? And then you're not able to source dollar for those things that are not allowed to be imported, right? So they have to go through with the parallel market and buy it at that ridiculous rate, and then that makes it more expensive to sell to Nigerians. So that's basically why you see that a lot of things are much more expensive, right? Which is bad, right? But then we have manufacturing companies, a lot of people that set up manufacturing like ventures, and then they have to close down just because they are not able to sustain the business, because the cost of production means that the price of whatever product is going to be cheaper. It's going to be much more expensive than the ones that are being imported from China, because apparently I don't know how China is able to do it, but I heard that the Chinese government subsidizes anything that is exported from China. So they pay a bit of the money for even the people outside in the country that's buying from them. They help you, they even pay like a bit of it, which is part of the subsidy thing, trying to help their own manufacturing companies or manufacturing industry to grow, making it even much more, what would I say? People would want to buy things that are cheaper and are value for money, so they can basically maximize on their profit. So that's the part
Let me ask you a question. You made a point about import. What country in the world is the largest exporter in the world? What country do you think?
I would say China.
What country in the world is the largest importer in the world?
It's not Nigeria for sure, but I think it's America.
It's China. It's China.
It's China?
Importer, exporter. The issue is not imports or export, it's net exports. So if I want to make shoe and I import leather from Kano, I import gum from Edo, I make the shoe in Aba and I export, but I import, say, maybe the nylon to wrap it, that's fine. The issue is not imports, it's net exports. Economics say you want to do a net export from your country. So if they are importing as input, you import machinery, you import machine to finish your goods, that is fine. The problem with Nigeria is that we are importing consumption. That's the problem. We're importing consumption. Same thing with the PMS subsidy. There is nothing wrong in subsidizing PMS. Nothing wrong. If Dangote is paid cash to subsidize PMS for Nigerians, there is nothing wrong, because it's a local subsidy to make manufacturing in Nigeria cheaper. So you go to Dangote and you say, supply diesel to textile firms in the north to produce the textiles cheaper in Nigeria that can be exported. More power to you. The problem is that's not what we're doing. We're importing education. We're importing healthcare. How do we import healthcare? You go abroad to visit your dentist. That's importing healthcare. You go abroad to go to school. That's importing healthcare. So China is the largest importer, largest exporter. Germany imports, Germany exports. USA imports, USA exports. Your Apple phone is where? Your Apple phone is imported to America. Who designs it? America. Where is it made? China. Do you hear anyone saying Apple phones are imported? It doesn't matter, because the net to Apple is an export. The net receipts to them is an export. They bill China more than China bills them. They bill China for design, China bills them for the hardware. Net, Apple wins.
So everything you said is perfect, of course, but I'm not saying that you shouldn't import. I'm talking about the parts where the manufacturing companies or the manufacturing ventures are not able to sustain themselves. Even if, yes, you said those machines that they need to produce whatever, to make it cheaper to produce in Nigeria, they're allowed to get themselves their dollars from CBN at that cheap rate. Yes, that happens fine, right? But then for some reason, they're still not able to be cheaper than what's been imported from China.
It's cheap. It's not, because cost of manufacturing in Nigeria is very expensive. We have no power. We have no security. So you have to provide your own power. That already is 25% on your selling price. Well, let me give you a point and let you go, right? There is about $10 to $20 billion sitting in Nigeria. Some not earning interest, some earning interest in the banks. If I wanted to make that currency available Monday, that is today, Monday, in Nigeria, what will I do? I devalue to 650. Once I devalue, what happens? All those guys that have money in their dollar will take the money out and sell to the banks to get 600 naira from me, because 650 is better than 450, which is currently at, right? So there's a flow of dollars into Nigeria. The manufacturers then get dollars immediately to that they can use to then import inputs to make products, right? Those inputs are then exported, right? Then there's more dollars coming into the country, right? What else do? You are killing imports because at 650, it's more expensive to import. It's cheaper to manufacture locally. So it's not rocket science to say that if the CBN today devalues in Naira to 750, that 10 to 20 billion that is sitting in dumb accounts in people's pockets in Nigeria will leave the banks and be sold immediately because nobody wants to. It's now money, right? If you sell that dollar becomes available. If dollar becomes available, what happens to the price of dollar? What happens to the price? If something is available, what happens to the price of it? It's economics. It falls. If something is available, the price of something falls. So in the irony of a strong Naira is that your currency becomes weaker. And the irony of a weak currency is that your currency becomes stronger. So the CBN, in trying to keep the Naira strong, is making it weaker. If you simply devalued it, you allowed the market to determine the rate of demand and their demand and supply determine the optimal price. Then the real price will come out. Then nobody would import a shirt from London for Arsenal because you can't afford it. If you can't afford it, buy a Yimba. But if you can afford it, sure, import the shirt from London. Then you only import what you know is important to you. You can import food. You can import PMS. But should you import sparkling water? Why should you import sparkling water? So economics will create a budget for you. And then with that budget, you focus on what is necessary for you as a nation. In South Korea, they banned every import. You only have to import inputs during the time of Park, the military dictator, right? And that's how they got themselves on the sure footing. You can't say you have no currency. Then you go to Abuja. I've seen still champagne water being sold in the market in Abuja. What's it for? What's it for, right? So if you want to import still champagne water, buy from the market and import. Then let the CBN focus on subsidizing the SMEs through this discounted dollars. I don't see why you should sell every dollar at 750, right? If the CBN sells crude oil, let the money go to CBN. But if I export my cocoa, if I export my fintech, and I get my dollars, let me sell at 750. So that way, there's a bit of development finance and also a bit of the market taking charge of the situation. Hetty Dre, what's up, sir? Go ahead. You've got the floor. Hetty, did I get that name right? Yeah, go for it, man.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much, Mr. Carlo.
Hey, what's up, bro?
I think you also run into your earlier submission. You actually also missing it again, even though you have answered that question earlier, which I agree with, which is that you can't just choose foreign exchange policy only to solve structural problems.
Sure.
So if today, because you have answered that question, but the way you answered again, you are going back again. If today you decide to say let's float Naira, it will not solve the structural problem. It will not suddenly make our production at home cheap because there are fundamental structural problems at home. So you always have a problem. And I think perfect example is that of Egypt, which they did just around 2015. So foreign exchange policy is a tool, but it's one of the tools. It's not the only tool. Because many economists make this mistake of saying, just devalue, let the market just float. And once it floats, it's a magic wand and it will solve all structural problems. And you answered that earlier. So I think we have to stay there. That we have to look at the entire gamut of the Nigerian economic system. Look at the trade policy, look at the infrastructural policy. Nigerian economy has to develop as a whole. So people have to sit down and look at the entire value chain of Nigerian economy. What exactly do we want to do? It is when you do that, which is something I've answered earlier, that will come up with a comprehensive policy framework. Under that, you might have the issue of foreign exchange policy, industrial policy, trade policy. All those things there must be synergy around everything. So what we have done in Nigeria so far, not for decades, is that people are so lazy that they just speak only one tool, whether monetary policy tool or fiscal policy tool. They just speak one thing and leave the other things without addressing those issues. So if you devalue, say, let us produce shirts in Nigeria today, we don't have that industry again in Nigeria. It's dead. How do you bring it up without actually thinking about the entire economy? I think that's number one. Number two, I think it was BC that didn't get your explanation very well. And that explanation is simple. We don't drink crude oil presently in Nigeria. We sell international markets and make dollar and use that dollar to buy some other stores. So once you sell in Naira, what you are doing, which Kalu explained very well, is an opportunity cost. That means you're not going to make that dollar again. But the demand for dollar is still there while you are making less dollar. I think that's the example Kalu was giving. That because you now have less dollar, that means you still have the problem of meeting dollar demand in the markets, because there are so many other inputs that you get from abroad that you have to pay in dollars. There are so many commodities you buy from abroad, machineries that you still have to pay in dollar. But because you no longer sell this crude oil in dollar, you are not receiving that dollar receipt any longer. So you still don't have the FX in actual facts to solve the problem of FX in the market. Let me just stop there, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah, that was well done. Thank you again. Thanks for that. And yeah, that was the point I'm trying to make, that in any way, as long as you're getting dollars, good point. But again, we can't talk about everything. Infrastructure is there, insecurity is there. We just want to talk about the value defend. I get it. If you devalue, it doesn't make the road in Aba will get better, right? But we're just trying to talk about this particular topic. And guess what, guys? We've got about 15 minutes to go. So I want to make sure all the guys that are here are requested to speak. I do give them a chance to get their word in. Bolarin, you've got the floor, sir. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks, Kalu. Great conversation, and I want to appreciate everybody else that's spoken before. Particularly Hetty, I was really excited about your submissions. Thank you for that. It's the temptation to take one tool or one essentially one framework, to understand the reality is a real temptation, but it usually doesn't lead us anywhere good. It's multifaceted. There's no monocausal, kind of situation here. Floating the currency is not some kind of silver bullet that's going to solve our problems. We have structural issues. We're an unproductive economy. We are not export competitive, and that's what we need to fix fundamentally. The other thoughts I just wanted to share real quick is sometimes it's important for us to remind ourselves of the real mechanism that is currently operating regarding how we get PMS at the pump in Nigeria. Many of us are aware of the DSDP swaps, which is essentially, and again, I believe we all know, as of now, the NNPC is the sole importer of PMS to Nigeria. How they get that PMS is by exchanging crude, which they would have sold for dollars. Okay, so this is where the opportunity cost is coming in again. They're exchanging crude for PMS, but they're not exchanging directly with offshore refineries. They're exchanging through essentially contract holders, in between intermediaries, who have won these contracts. And what is happening is that effectively, some of these intermediaries still have to find dollars to bring in the PMS. It's not like a bring crude and exchange PMS in some meeting point. It doesn't work like that, So the PMS has to come in anyway. And to get that PMS, they need to find dollars somehow or the other. So even though technically we're exchanging crude for PMS, there's still dollar demand in the mix somewhere there. And they have to find that dollars to be able to bring the PMS in and then collect the crude oil, which is what they're taking in exchange, and sell it for dollars, probably at a later point. So in understanding that, we get a clearer picture that what happens with the Dangote refinery is nothing so fancy. It's just that we now have a refinery next door. It's not different from the offshore refineries. It's next door, so, logistics costs and all that marginally lower and can be reflected to a very limited degree at the pump, right?
The other very major thing which I've been hearing us talk about is how is this happening? Are we exchanging the crude with Dangote directly? And in this case, obviously, we don't really need intermediaries anymore. We can give him crude oil as feedstock to the refineries, and he gives us PMS. No need for intermediaries. So there's no money changing hands. The conversation is that of an opportunity cost. But even in that conversation, remember, as of now, the NNPC is exchanging crude it would have sold for dollars. With Dangote, the NNPC is exchanging crude it would have sold for dollars. Nothing much is changing. The price of PMS at the pump will not change. It will not get lower. Maybe marginally so due to lower logistics costs, but nothing dramatic, right? Now, and I'll end by just this little point. The issue of Naira, dollar, again, if the exchange is a direct exchange, there's no currency exchange taking place. Now, if the exchange is not a direct exchange, and we start to have conversations about, are we selling the crude to Dangote in Naira or dollars, then we can have the next conversation, which is at what rate are we selling this if we're selling it in Naira? If we're selling it at the CBN rate, that is an implicit subsidy already. If we're having one rate, a floated currency or whatever, then obviously no subsidy at all. So to me, this is how to understand the situation without getting, confused in the mud waters of everything. And thank you.
But I don't go anywhere, because I think you've explained this way better than all of us have. And I think this is the point I wasn't able to explain as clearly with the clarity that you have done, right? I've said that the Dangote refinery, all it does is if it removes any cost, do more wage, that insurance of bringing the ship and all that. But I think you've done it better. I want you to just say it again in a way that we can follow. What are the savings, if any? And is there going to be a subsidy? Just say it again. Just recap it in a way that anyone listening can actually understand and can take home and explain to the next person again about this, just so that we are totally clear. Yeah,
thanks, Carlo. So again, I will say, as of now, we are exchanging crude oil with offshore refineries through intermediaries, right? Dangote refinery comes, it is exactly like the same offshore refineries. It's just that it's at our doorstep. So the ships and all of that, the logistics costs, which will obviously are currently being reflected at the pump price, that will be reflected to some degree, lower logistics costs. So maybe a slightly lower price at the pump, but clearly nothing dramatic. So nothing is changing. That's what I'm saying. The Dangote refinery changes nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's the same thing. However, and I like to say this, the Dangote refinery is a beautiful thing. It's a signal of, industrial capacity of the country. It's a really good signal in the market. It's a potential export earner, but only if the terms of exchange for crude and PMS reflect a zero subsidy situation. And remember, what is the subsidy? The subsidy is that the PMS we are getting for a certain amount of crude, is lower than it should be. Essentially, what I mean is what we are selling the PMS for at the pump. That's what they say is not a subsidy. It's a
modulation,
under recovery. We're selling PMS at the point we're getting less than we should be getting for what we have exchanged it for crude for. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does, and I just want to make sure people understand that. There's a tendency to think. Someone already accused me on Twitter that I don't like Dangote refinery. I'm trying to explain. I'm just explaining what Bolani has done with the clarity. I get it, BC. I know. BC, you don't like what he said. I get it, but
there's one little thing that should be added also, right?
Yeah.
If the subsidy is not removed, that is, if we don't change the terms of exchange, or if the prices at the pump do not reflect a cost recovery situation, what is going to happen is what is already happening. Our demand profile is not reflective of the actual demand of the Nigerian market. Clearly, the product is being smuggled across borders. And the last figure I had was about 80 million liters per day.
Yeah.
Now, for our information, at maximum output, Dangote Refinery takes a feedstock of about 650,000 barrels of oil per day, right? The equivalent output in PMS is about 50 million liters of PMS. Are you guys seeing what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At maximum output, Dangote Refinery does not even satisfy the demand that we currently have of PMS because of all the smuggling. So you have a problem. You can't even meet domestic demand. So what happens to export earnings? Zero. You can't export because there's nothing to export.
Oh my
You're
God.
not even meeting domestic demand. So
the other two refineries kicked in before the end of the year, the Port Harcourt and Delta and Warri refinery. Those two also kicked in December.
No, let him answer. It's a good question. It's a good question. Bolari, he's saying the refinery is kicked in. Let him answer.
Please, we are mixing what subsidy is. Please. Subsidy is the landing price of PMS at the depot is like 500 naira. And that's what NNPC is buying. Nigerian government now says, NNPC, don't sell at 500. Sell to my people all over Nigeria at 185 or 189. So that difference is the subsidy. It's not actually from the crude oil swap. You will buy at international market at anything that you want. Please.
That's why it is called under recovery. And sometimes these terms are quite important. And again, I apologize if I misled a bit there. The issue is at the pump price. It's an under recovery that we're calling a subsidy.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. So what will favor us with Dangote Refinery? That's why all our top shops are calling for subsidy removal, because they know that they don't want Dangote to now give Nigerians and they will now go and subsidize. They want to sell at the market price. The landing cost, everything must be, every value added must be paid for by Nigerians. And whether we like it or not, the price of PMS will go up. If it goes up on Platts, it will come down if it goes down on Platts. The only difference, as he has said, is that the freight cost might be reduced. That means instead of it to be maybe 500, can come at 450.
So, but basically, he's saying that the same thing I'm saying, that there is not going to be any change. This is the point I'm saying.
That's the bottom line.
Carlo, can I chip in a bit?
The thing is that there is going to be pressure on our reserve, like what we have to. And don't forget that why they are smuggling is because of the price of PMS in international advertising for the country. And Nigeria is selling at 189 at one price. So I can take it to Cameroon and go and sell and make a difference of over 200%.
Yep.
So by the time you level the market, the demand, even our consumption that they claim is 18 million, we come down. And if our power and all those things work, and that's why I say short term, long term. Short term, Dangote Refinery, let it work. Long term is to boost our production and improve our electricity. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just chime in quickly, Carlo?
Please go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to correct two misapprehensions. You said, and also had someone say that the Dangote Refinery is mainly for exports. I don't think that is totally correct. The Nelson complexity of the Dangote is 10.5, this is the second highest in the world, and it is configured in a way that it can moderate what it has to produce. So it's not a flat output in terms of what it has to produce in PMS or diesel or any given product. So if at any given time we need X amount of PMS, it can configure to produce that. If it needs to reduce that to produce more diesel, it can do that, or any other product. So it has like the second highest, let's say, NCI, and it's one of the most complex, refineries we have in the world. So it can do a lot. And let's say complexity means that they can maximize the output of your hydrocarbon in terms of what you get per barrel. So the Dangote Refinery can export and also meet our local demands 100%. So if you go to the Dangote Refinery as it is now, the country has 98 loading arms for local distribution. And that 98 loading arms can distribute for 33,000 liters and 66,000 liters tankers. That's for local distribution. So we are serious for local distribution.
I hear you.
Sorry, Carlo. Okay, go ahead. Ask your question.
No, go ahead. Please finish.
So they can, so they are set up to distribute locally. Even at the design stage where they said, look, this is not what we wanted to do. We wanted to just do operations for export. There may be offtake for local. The Dangote industry, they said, no, we must be able to supply the local market. And they factored that into the whole Dangote refinery structure in terms of where they wanted to do their distribution and export as well. Then secondly, the last speaker said, oh, the maximum output of Dangote refinery is 15 million. That's not true. The maximum output of Dangote is, I think, between 103 and 107 million liters per day. That's 650,000 barrels per day. So they can actually do exports and can conveniently, produce for the local markets. 2, 3. Yes, I agree with what Valerie was said. He explained everything and all that. I said nothing really changes, but a lot changes because we also forget. We always focus on PMS. We also forget that what we do, we sell our crude and we import maybe PMS, ATF, gas and diesel, and maybe some kerosene if we do for the local market. But also forget that there are major components of crude that we're going to now be preserving. So if we refine our crude, like the Dangote refinery is going to be producing quite a number, like you have said, quite a number of components in products from the crude, because of this high NCI. Then also, we also have the petrochemical complex that's going to be producing ethylene and polypropylene. That can cater to our, plastic market and tire market and any other market. So all those guys are no longer going to be importing. Everybody's going to be buying and off-taking from the Dangote refinery. So you're going to save a lot more. It's not just PMS you're looking at. You're looking at a whole lot of product categories they are no longer going to be importing that you're going to get from the Dangote refinery. Now, correct, somebody said that when Dangote comes, it's probably going to be doing 50,000 barrels per day. I know that. No, that's also not true. So, of course, when the refinery starts, they're going to sequence it till it gets to maximum capacity. So when it starts operation, it's going to start with 325,000 barrels per day, as its first operation. Then in the first few months, it builds it up, like in a year, it builds it up to about 500. Then finally, maybe in a year or two, it now begins to produce at the maximum capacity of 650,000 barrels per day. So let's not just look at the Dangote refinery and focus on only the PMS component. There are a whole lot of components and products that are going to come out of, the Dangote refinery. So first and foremost, it's giving you naphtha, diesel, light gases, atmospheric fluid, some heavy gases. You get kerosene, you get all of these other components right from the CDU, the crude distillation unit, as a first-hand product that comes out of the CDU before it goes to the catalytic reactors to break it down further. So let's not just focus on the PMS component as a means of maybe revenue or opportunity cost or savings. We're also going to be saving across these categories. And finally, when the last person said, and it just, watered down what those savings will be in terms of what we're going to be saving, and he said it's infinitesimal. But it's not true because at the end of the day, if you do some calculations, some say, about 1.6 trillion will be saved, from all these handling charges, freight charges, demurrage, what they call these receipts, etc. And another says it's about $3.6 billion. So if you do that aggregate cost, it's a lot of money. It's not something if you just, play down and say, the changes are just very, very minimal. So there's a whole lot going on within the Dangote refinery that is going to impact this economy. And finally, we're not even talked about the impact on the downstream sector. Because of the number of products that will be coming out from the crude that is going to go along this value chain, and the off-takers along that will be using them for the different components or the different factories or for the different manufacturing. So there's a huge, net benefit of the Dangote refinery, and it's indeed an economic game changer. So it shouldn't not something we should play down. While I agree that all of these things that Valerie said, he broke it down, and I totally agree. But these are all the other things because we're just looking at PMS. We should look at all the net benefits and all the net products that are coming out on the Dangote refinery. Thank you.
So the best thing we're going to do, right? Aya, we're going to bring you and Bola and if you guys would agree, we'll bring you guys back. We'll do a special session on the refinery. Just knock out an hour. You guys, I'm follow both of you. I'm going to send you guys DMs. I would love for you guys to come back. It's our refinery, Abi. Let's just talk about it. We are not doing this to talk down or to downplay any positive of the refinery. The whole topic is the Devalue side. And the point I'm making is just to emphasize that how it would play out on the reserves. Just for people to be clear, we're not pulling down Dangote or talking down any benefits. And when we say the point that Dangote Refinery is created for export, it's right there in the location. It's an export processing zone, number one. Number two, the CBN governor himself said they are going to support Dangote with subsidized dollars decades ago, right? Because Dangote would, in future, supply Nigeria with dollars. The whole idea for Dangote, the strategic reason for Dangote is to create a refinery that is focused on taking that crude, making those byproducts, not just the PMS, like you've said, even the fertilizer plant. Remember, it's a comprehensive plant, the fertilizer, the refineries, exporting them and getting forex for the nation. So the primary reason why the CBN got behind Dangote, gave Dangote the subsidized dollars, as they should, is because it is a long-term play by Nigeria to diversify her forex earnings away from crude oil. But there's no way you can just build a refinery and export crude oil without focusing on the local market. So even the NNPC invested in Dangote to give it strategic meanings to Nigeria. That's the point I make when I make it for export. It is created to export products of Nigerian crude oil, not just the crude oil, the products, the condensates, the resins, all that from the refinery in an export processing zone so that it goes out. That's the point. So if you guys would come back, Bolarinwa and Ayo, I think we'll be much, much blessed to have you guys come and then do a session just on the refinery and how we can connect it. Look at the time, guys. We are almost done. Wale, you're going to be our closing guy. Wale, how you doing?
Hi, Kalu. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? It's been a very, very rich conversation. I've enjoyed myself. I just wanted to share a few things, and I think some of the guys have said it. The last speaker talked about the output. What we have in terms of Dangote's output is, I think the PMS is about 50 million, and I think diesel is about 17 million. That's what we have in the public domain. If there's any insider information that will be up to 103 million, we haven't seen that. That's one. Two, for me, I've looked at the refinery as well. Very laudable project, massive project. For me, I think in terms of what we'll be saving, and I like to look at it in that manner, in terms of our dollar outflow, it's about 28% of our total dollar requirements. So it's substantial. We still have 72 outgoing, so there's still a lot that can be done. That's the second point. For me, my third point is on how we need to balance our monetary policy, which we've been talking about, with our fiscal policy. One gentleman came up and talked about it earlier on. And for me, until any government doesn't look at the two, and sort of strike a balance, we will never see anything called development. And that's the God's own truth. Let me mention something very quickly. On the fiscal side of things, where we need to develop a lot of infrastructure and things, around energy, transport, water, mining, agriculture, ICT, housing and regional development, social infrastructure, vital registration and security. Those are like the key infrastructure requirements that we need. Until we find a way to start spending money, and the last document, the Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan, says we need 25 billion USD per annum to start investing in this thing, and we need to invest for 30 years, to become anything like all these countries that we run to. So that gives you an idea of what we need to do. So until we start doing that, before we see anything, called meaningful development, I don't think the Dangote refinery by its own, which is just one project, will do this, because the prices of fuel will not necessarily go down. I can assure you of that, because there's so many other factors involved. For me, until I see the financial model that the Dangote refinery is based on, we're all just guessing. because the man has taken a lot of dollar-denominated loans, which he needs to pay back. So how he pays that by selling the bulk of his oil in Naira, I'd like to see how that works. But like I said, from a finance perspective now, when I see his financial model, I can give a more informed opinion. My last point is on how can we begin to solve Nigeria's problems immediately. I think you mentioned something around this, Kalu, when we started this conversation. For me, one untapped resource that a lot of countries around the world are getting into today is diaspora funding. And you see, Nigeria's diaspora funding hasn't been harnessed, hasn't been critically pursued by the government. But in the last 4 years, according to CBN and the World Bank, $68 billion have come to Nigeria. $68 billion. You see that amount, let me tell you how important it is. It is higher than our aggregate revenues in this country over the last 4 years. It is higher than any FDI we have received or any ODA we have received. All those eight is higher than all of it. For me, that 68 billion has been what they call black tax from the diaspora. So whilst a lot of people see the disadvantages of this Japa movement, I see a permanently big advantage. Humor me. What if the Nigerian government, and this is on the fiscal side, just follow me for about a minute. If the Nigerian government is able to find a way to say, look, instead of getting $68 billion in 4 years, how can we motivate Nigerians abroad to trust us, to have confidence in us as a government, and begin to repatriate this 68 billion per annum? That all of a sudden, and if it comes in as FDI, which is invested over the longer term, takes care of all the nonsense around our fiscal requirements, then we can begin to have a lot more conversations around this Dangote refinery, how it helps the monetary side of things. Look, for me, until we start to think in this manner, I've looked at the left, I've looked at the right, until we have a government that thinks in this manner, that, look, how can we solve this problem? How can we balance it with this? We won't really see any meaningful development. For me, we'll continue to run around in circles. That's what I wanted to share. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, that was thanks for that, Wally. As usual, detailed. I think I'm sorry, I missed two guys that are still on this that have not yet spoken that were here. I've got Mr. Vase, and after Mr. Vase, I've got Mr. Victor. So we'll do Vase first, then we'll do Victor, and then we'll call today. Thank you so much, guys. I think it's very, very enriching. I've learned so much. So Mr. Vase, you've got the floor. So go ahead. I'm presenting right. Ewoma Vase.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carlo. I just came to ask questions because you guys are the professionals now, and I think some of my questions have been answered in the course of the discussion. My other question is the pipelines for the transportation of petroleum products. What's going to happen with that? Thank you.
Wow, that's outside my. Ayo or Bolenwaji, he's asking, do you guys have an answer? The pipelines. Are you talking about the pipelines to go to Dangote or the ones for NNPC? Could you be more specific?
Yes, the ones that NNPC own, about 5,000 kilometers. They go to about 20-something depots around the country. And if we're going to be removing tankers off the road, and if you want to reduce the cost of petroleum products reaching other parts of Nigeria, I would think that rehabilitation of such a pipeline would have been in the works concurrently with the refinery, but I've not heard anything about it. The last I checked, the Bureau for Public PE was trying to sell it off, and all that. Then I have another question too is on the other refineries that people are talking about. I have gone to the website of the companies that they say are doing turnaround maintenance, and they're not talking about any maintenance they are doing. We are not seeing any pictures coming from there. So what are these assumptions based on? I'm on LinkedIn, I've not seen anything. So is TAM really going on, and all that? Thank you.
Well, okay, so I think maybe the experts can speak, but I think NNPC still owns the pipeline. So unless you're asking something different, I think Dangote doesn't own the pipelines. NNPC still owns them. What will happen to NNPC's infrastructure, I don't know yet. On turnaround maintenance, someone has said, I think it's BC that said that the NNPC, the one in Port Harcourt, is going to be up this year, which means the TM is going on. I have no records of that or any clarifications. So anyone that knows can hop in and give us that clarification on the pipeline, NNPC, and yeah.
Let me just talk on the pipeline. For the pipeline, they are still there, but the present arrangement is that there are a lot of depots. I know Pinnacle is around the Dangote axis. So the plan is that Pinnacle will get direct pipeline supply, and that is Pinnacle that I think somebody talked about that has like 100 countries or something. So that one is good. Then for other depots, they'll be using vessels, that means small vessels, to move from Dangote refinery to their respective depots.
Okay.
The major problem with the pipeline is because of vandalization. You know Nigeria now. Yes, the pipelines are there. Some people are tapping it and a lot. So they are not really reliable. And that's why they are not using it. But I'm sure if we can solve security problem and other challenges, it's just to revamp the pipeline and make them work. And I encourage our people not to damage them.
Good point. Yeah, thanks for that, BC. Thanks.
Then the second question you asked was about
TAM. It's not about TAM.
Yeah, the turnaround maintenance. All the companies mentioned, because all these foreign companies based on corporate governance, you always see press releases in their websites. You go on all their websites, there is nothing mentioned. On LinkedIn, there have been no pictures coming out of the TAM. So where are all these assumptions coming up? Because last we checked, they spent over $25 billion on a turnaround maintenance in quote for the past 25 years, but we've never seen anything. So what is different this time? And where is the proof that there is something different this time? Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me not say I'm defending the government, but the truth of the matter is that I think the first time they gave it to a local vendor, and that guy messed them up. So now I think the Kaduna one was given to people who are the initial OEM of the refinery, while the second one was given to an Italian company. And based on the last information I got, I've not been there, is that they are actually working seriously on it. But the problem is that they started working during the second term of the Buhari administration. The first time, I think that was the major reason why they removed Kachu. That was the major reason.
That he didn't do it on time or what?
Because he encouraged them to give it to a local vendor.
Oh, okay.
And when they did that, I think, well, that's just what's on the street.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. If that local guy had performed, it would have been local content. I'm sad that he didn't perform.
Yes.
Sad.
He said, I think they gave it to a local guy. So now they have to source for the main OEM. I think the Port Harcourt one was difficult to get because I think those companies are folded up. They now found a company that is an expert in refinery. So those are the companies that are
Man, that's the killer. All right, thanks for that, BC. Thanks for giving us that insight. Let's get Victor in here. Victor, you got the floor. Last guy, Victor DK, go for it. Victor counting down. All right, guys. So, hey, we've been here 11, 12, 1, 2, 4 hours, guys. 4 hours talking about Nigeria, the Naira, the refineries, just the economy in general about Nigeria. And it just shows that everyone on this space, listening, talking, contributing, we all love Nigeria, right? Even though we might have different Twitter posts and all that kind of stuff, we all love Nigeria, all have an interest in Nigeria. We want to make Nigeria better. That's why we can spend 4 hours talking about Naira and dollar and refinery. And that's the spirit. We have to get this nation moving. We have to get this team going, create wealth, improve productivity, get the insecurity down. Everything are not economic, but get things working. We are too big to be where we are. This country is too valuable, to implode or to underperform. And this country starts to improve, Africa starts to improve. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we just want to make things work. We want to make things get better. That's it. So Devalue, defend, You know, we didn't take any position. Just like economics, we don't give you answers. We give you options and choices. And there's not one pathway that is 100% correct. It's always a hybrid. Defend here, devalue here, but look for a path that leads you to productivity, to higher incomes, and of course, to creating wealth for your citizenry. Again, we ask the Nigerian government, you know, to listen to the people and do what is right. You know, let your actions follow your words. You know, we can talk about an economic catastrophe, but we're buying 10 billion fire trucks and we're spending money on internet. Focus on what is important. Like food, PMS, that's what Nigerians are shouting about. Power supply, that's what they're shouting about. Insecurity. Focus on that. Get it done. Get the confidence. The key word is confidence. Nigerians don't want you to fix all. Don't they know that you can't fix all the problems in 1 week? But they want to see that you know what you're doing. Then they'll get behind you. That's really it. They will get behind you. And once people are behind you, then you can do everything. That's going to be our closing line here, guys. I wish you guys the best. Have a great week coming up here. Mondays are my favorite days. Go out and achieve your dreams. Take care, guys, and bye.